Kelly House has been in the Kelly family for 31 generations. But after years of neglect, this once magnificent building is near derelict. The Kellys are holding on to their birthright by their fingernails.
If we can't make it work at the moment, the only option will be to sell.
The family has called in businesswoman Ruth Watson to help turn their fortunes around. It's her biggest challenge yet.
This is the worst case I have ever had to help with.
After more than 900 years of history, could this be the end of the line for the Kellys at Kelly House?
This building is literally falling down. Do you feel you've been a servant to the Kelly family?
Oh yes, definitely.
It's so rotten, I can see the sky.
Kelly House is a Grade 1 listed mansion in the far west of Devon. The estate and even the village itself are named after the Kelly family. Generations of Kellys have lived here for nearly 1,000 years, but the family has fallen on hard times, and this proud house, once the heart of the community, now stands neglected, isolated, and in a severe state of decay. 67-year-old Warren, the 31st Squire of Kelly, is at his wits' end.
The stumbling block to turning it round has been simply a lack of money. The advice we were given a long time ago from one of the English heritage people was, you need to win the lottery.
Warren and his wife Liz live next door in the converted stable block. Warren took over the estate in 2007 when his mother died. But over the years, as the heir and not the owner, Warren looked on as the house gradually deteriorated.
I think we probably survived by keeping our heads down.
The estate once owned swathes of Devon, Cornwall and Somerset, but generations of Warren's ancestors have been forced to sell most of the land to keep the house going.
All the farms that would have supported the estate have long been sold off, so we're left really with buildings and nothing very much to support them.
The Kellys' circumstances reached crisis point when they were hit by crippling death duties just after the Second World War, when two heirs died within a year of each other.
My father inherited 2 lots of inheritance tax and sort of struggled through the rest of his life trying to sort things out.
With the recent death of his mother, there's now a third tax bill. Warren's daughter Sophie and boyfriend Chris have uprooted their lives in Yorkshire and have returned to help save Kelly. Far from leading a comfortable country lifestyle, the couple find themselves instead camping out in the main house.
It's not unusual to find half a ceiling on the floor sometimes.
As the newcomer, Chris realises that the Kellys need more than money if they're to survive.
We need focus and direction, I'll be honest.
It's gambling, really. We're gambling with our family home. Which way do we gamble, and is it actually going to pay off?
More than ever before, the future of the Kelly family at Kelly House hangs in the balance.
One can't go on just pouring money in if there's nothing coming out at the other end.
We're trying to make the best of what is here. There must be something we can do.
History Hit is a streaming platform that is just for history fans, with fantastic documentaries covering fascinating figures and moments in history from all over the world. We've got unrivaled access to the world's leading historians, with hundreds of documentaries featuring everything from Boudica to the British royal family. We're committed to bringing history fans award-winning documentaries and podcasts that you cannot find anywhere else. Sign up now for a free trial, and Real Royalty fans get 50% off their first 3 months. Just be sure to use code REALROYALTY at checkout.
In a last-ditch attempt to preserve this important part of our heritage, self-made businesswoman Ruth Watson's been called in.
Feels quite difficult to have got to this stage. None of us want to be the last Kelly at Kelly. Ruth.
You're Warren.
I am, yes. Welcome to Kelly.
Is this as bad as it gets?
Possibly.
It's
very similar
heartbreaking.
all around. Well, we live with it. Anyway, this is the Victorian entrance. I
Right.
really ought to take you round and show you how the house was designed to be
Oh,
seen.
I'd love to, because there's obviously a more fabulous view somewhere.
Warren's seen the sad decline of Kelly House and well remembers the time when this grande dame was loved and lived in.
And this really is the angle this part of the house was designed to be seen from.
Why have we sort of part painted?
Well, we're in the process of slowly painting it. We're doing it ourselves at the moment.
How long has this bit taken to do?
We started about 18 months ago, and eventually we shall work our way round. That's the intention.
Another millennium?
I hope not, but probably 2 or 3 years.
There's been a Kelly living on this site for over 900 years, and its remarkable history is something that Warren is very proud of.
From here, we went through into the main staircase area.
Staircase with your lovely Venetian window.
Yes, and the stars on the ceiling, too.
It's beautiful.
Very decorative.
And the little putty in the corner. This horrible vertical crack going down the
Well,
corner.
it's been there for years.
Does it make you sad seeing how fine it should be and how not fine it looks?
I suppose I've lived with it so long and I just
You
feel
don't-
it's an old house. It's
You don't
not-
see it anymore.
No, we don't. I don't think we see it. I'm not all that worried in a way. I like a house which is sort of shows that it's been around for a long time and has history.
As long as
If
it
you-
doesn't fall down.
Warren's lived at Kelly for most of his life and has witnessed the generations of gradual decline.
Ah, this is the bullseye window that's beneath the pediment, isn't it?
That's right. So we're right in the centre
Right in
of
the
the
centre.
house here. Yes.
When Warren was young, this now derelict part of the servants' quarters was his playroom.
Well, I think largely through lack of money that the place has deteriorated, and of course, you know, there are less people around in the house, and that's what we need to tackle again.
Warren's daughter Sophie is desperate to see Kelly kept in the family. Returning to live in the main house has given her an insight into the true state of decay.
We've had a rather bad attack of dry rot because the prevailing wind comes, and this gets most of the weather. It's sort of the water seeped through and attacked the wood, and then you get the eventual dry rot, which unfortunately you don't notice until the worst of the damage is done.
Do you feel you're firefighting all the time,
Yeah.
rather, or dry rot fighting, maybe?
Very much so.
Yeah.
There's always the worry if you open a door, is the ceiling still up?
With such a long and illustrious history, Ruth wants to find out from the family why they're in such trouble today.
Now, I don't want to be rude, but you've had 900 years to get this right.
Well, only yes.
I mean, not you personally, but the Kellys have had 900 years. If we sort of just even go back 25, 30 years, do you think any progress has really been made on making this?
Patch and
Yes,
mend.
patching and mending. Not a huge amount of progress, no. We're a family in decline, but we're still here. If we can find a way out of that, then all well and good.
I mean, Elizabeth, you must be a fairly sanguine kind of person, and absolutely the reverse of me, because I would have been nagging like crazy for 30... How many years? 43?
I think it just falls on deaf ears.
Oh, right. Okay,
think.
okay, well,
No, I
that
don't
is
think
like me
so.
then. An attempt has been made to paint the house. Is there any reason why we can't get a ladders or a bit of scaffolding and actually just finish that job?
You can see the level you can get to with ladders.
Ladders,
But above that, unfortunately,
rather dangerous.
it is rather dangerous. But scaffolding, again, there's a cost involved in getting scaffolding set up.
With no funds available and the house in such disrepair, Kelly House finds itself again in crisis.
Sophie, have you thought about this?
We've looked at things like team building events and things like that, and then sort of work our way sort of weddings and stuff like that.
Yeah.
What kind of bride do you think's going to want to be married here? Come on.
It's the outside. That's why we were doing the outside.
You'd have to be a Kelly bride, Sophie.
If the Kellys are to stand a chance of saving their ancestral home, they'll need to raise their game or face selling it.
I'm not sure whether Warren really realises the desperate straits he's in.
But will the Kellys be able to meet Ruth's exacting standards?
It's just partly finished. Or should I say partly started?
The Kelly family was given this land in Devon at the time of the Norman conquest, and they've lived here ever since. But despite its long history, 31 generations later, the future of the Kelly family hangs in the balance. The present house was built in 1742 and formed the centrepiece of a farming estate with land in 3 counties. It's a fine example of a Georgian country manor, with a Venetian window, characteristic 18th century mouldings, and an impressive 19th century book collection. The Georgian house was attached to an earlier Tudor building that incorporated a medieval hall. But after years of neglect, many of the estate buildings have fallen down. At the heart of the village, Kelly House used to employ most of the community. But today, it's seen as a forbidding place.
It's always been a bit of a mystery, really, Kelly House, as to what's behind the gate and what's inside the door.
It always seems to be the sort of place that you go past rather than want to go in.
All I knew was it was a fantastic building that looked like it was falling down around everybody's ears.
Desperate to maintain the family's heritage, Ruth Watson's been called in to help.
If we can't make it work at the moment, the only option will be to sell. If that happened, we would certainly move a long way away, and I don't think we'd ever come back. No, just wouldn't want to.
Warren's the 31st Squire of Kelly. A semi-retired architect, when he's not carrying out essential house repairs, he's enjoying his various hobbies. He and wife Liz don't live in the main house, but in the stable block, which Warren converted into a flat soon after they were married.
Gosh, this is an extraordinary building. And the first thing I think is, how cold must this be in the winter? You've got no insulation. Well, I don't mean was, is.
Once the temperature, exterior temperature, goes below 45, it starts getting very cold and you start putting more wood on and trying to catch up with it, but it's hopeless.
When the couple first moved in, there was no glass in the windows. Warren planned to glaze them himself, but never got round to it.
The windows were a mistake. I rather stupidly thought, well, as a compromise, we could have these pieces of plate glass cut out and hinged in just to cover for the time being. That was in 1974. He still hasn't done the windows. The bottoms,
Yes.
they were all earth.
Right.
I said, I've got 2 children, I can't have that. And I hauled all the cement up and cemented these windows.
Yourself?
Yes. He let me do this.
Do you feel you've been a sort of servant to the Kelly family?
Oh, yes, definitely. General factotum. But anyway, that is a wife and a mother, and what else?
Right.
You know,
I think you're a very nice person. Liz, I don't normally do this.
Thank you.
Bit of a hero and a martyr.
Oh, dear. I don't like to be put forward to that, but yes, what needs to be done, you try and do it to the best of your ability.
OK, I'm sorry, I'm feeling a bit tearful about this. I'm just going to leave. Not many women would put up with what Liz has been through. I only hope that her future involves not just windows that open, but somebody else to do the building work for her.
Daughter Sophie and boyfriend Chris have moved back to help save the house. They hope to start up small businesses, Chris selling bespoke picnic blankets, and Sophie making homemade chocolates. Currently camping in the main house, the couple want to move into a flat in the derelict Tudor wing, once they've renovated it.
This is hopefully the part we're going to live in. The ceiling is down at the moment because it was bowing quite dramatically, and we decided to take it down before it fell down.
What needs doing is the electrics. That's already on the way. A kitchen, we have a good quote from a reputable company that's come by way of recommendation. We're going to have to do a lot of work on it, and we're going to do the work. We're going to get it into a state where there's going to be a bed roughly where you're
Chris,
standing.
I have to say that you're the only person, and I'm sorry about this, Sophie, but who actually I believe might get on and do something here. There does seem to be a real Kelly thing going on about just... it's not even just inaction. It's a kind of almost a denial of what's happening. Do you feel that?
I think my dad's very good at it, and it's sort of come through. My dad has a lot of hobbies. He's built himself a canoe. He's learnt how to do stained glass, and
He's built a classic car.
He's built a classic car, and
But he's let his house rot.
yes,
I think
it's
because
very much the.
he can't possibly spend enough time on the house to be able to make a positive impact. Now we're here, hopefully it can change.
Having met Sophie and Chris, Ruth sets off to explore the extent of decay for herself. Beneath the Tudor flat at the rear of the house, she discovers an Elizabethan kitchen with original panelling.
The fireplace over here would have been the place where they originally did the cooking for the house. But in it is a lot of residue from the jackdaws building their nests. And I have to say, they look to have been a lot more industrious than the Kelly family.
One of the latest additions to the house is a Victorian annex, which has another self-contained apartment that Warren started refurbishing.
This area could be let out, whether it's for a long-term tenancy or whether it's for holiday lets. This is a space that could be earning some money. And at the moment, it's just partly finished. Or should I say partly started?
With not one but two rentable flats on site, it's clear that there is potential to bring in a healthy revenue stream at Kelly. Back in the main house, Ruth discovers that every shower of rain threatens another fallen ceiling or outbreak of dry rot.
Oh, dear Lord. It's so rotten. I can see the sky through the first floor, up to the second floor, and all the way out. So what do? You put a curtain in front of it.
Ruth's worried that the Kellys are way out of their depth. She wants to know exactly how close to collapse the house is, and has asked local English heritage official Francis Kelly to visit.
Francis Kelly, are you related to the family?
No connection at all.
No?
No.
That's extraordinary. What about
My goodness.
this?
My goodness.
You have an at-risk register, don't you?
We do.
And has Kelly reached that register?
Kelly's been on that register since it began. So here we are at Kelly House.
So the condition is poor and their priority is C, but it was bracketed A.
It means that it's slow decay with no solution agreed. Previously, it was rapid decay.
That's Kelly House itself, but I do notice that the stable block, which is where the Kellys live, is AA. So it's been at great risk and it continues to be at great risk.
Regrettably, yes, it's not in good condition. The real issue is that we've got a house in very serious state of decay and stable block in even worse state of decay. These are heritage assets of immense value to the nation. We've got to try and help the family to do something, or we've got to try and help the house. I mean, English heritage is really, our remit is to bat for the building, really, rather than the family.
Without urgent action, the future at Kelly House looks extremely bleak.
I'm not sure whether Warren really realises the desperate straits he's in, so I'm going off to a house called Woodchester where they have a number of very particular problems which they're dealing with in an innovative way. I think this could be somewhere that he really could learn from.
Woodchester Mansion in Gloucestershire is a country house with a difference. Ruth's here to meet Stephen Davies, its chairman.
Hello, Ruth.
Hi.
Nice to meet you. Come on
And
inside.
you too. What an extraordinary building.
It is, isn't it? Well, when the Trust was founded, it had a very far-sighted and visionary idea, which was to make the mansion available to students to train on. And it was the only building in the country where student masons could come out of their classroom and come down here and actually fix stone, learn to cut it and learn to fix it on a building.
And you've got plenty of stone for them to play with.
We're not going to finish.
I don't think they're going to run out, are they?
Construction of the mansion started in the mid-19th century, but was never completed. Today, apprentices get to practice their skills here on a real building, while the house benefits from their work. And it brings in tourists too.
How many visitors do you currently get a year?
We get between 5,000 and 6,000.
What kind of revenue are they producing?
They're bringing us over £30,000 a year.
Well, that's not to be sneezed at, is
We
it?
don't sneeze at it, although in this house we sneeze at quite a lot of things.
The severity of the Kellys' predicament is evident. Having done her research, Ruth heads back to Devon to present her findings to the family.
Hello.
Hi.
I have to tell you that this is probably the worst case I have ever had to help with. I don't know whether that gives you a sense of pride or a foreboding, but anyway, this is difficult. It's quite obvious that money is the problem. I think also that really has been a lack of focus as well about how to go about doing this. And I don't hold you totally to blame, Warren, for this. I think this has been going on for probably 100 years or so. It can't be left to just be talked about and to be sort of darned and patched.
It's what we've been doing, really, isn't it?
Well, it is, yes. I suppose over the years, yeah.
Ruth starts with the most critical problem. Kelly House is on the brink of collapse. Having seen the scheme at Woodchester, she wants Warren to focus on a major restoration programme to be undertaken by supervised apprentices.
I know of at least 2 or 3 organisations, all of which have courses and schemes whereby people who are wanting to train in all the crafts and arts that are particular to period houses have to come and work on live buildings. And the obvious thing is that Chris stays behind also to learn some of these skills, because you can be both labourer, because there will always be some labouring work required, but also you can learn how to do some of these skills because they will be there. And the marvellous thing about that is that, first of all, you get the work done, but it gets done to the kind of standard that Warren really likes and approves of. And that way, I think you actually could end up not having to go to bed at night worrying about which part of the house is going to fall in next.
Yes, that would be a relief.
Ruth is also keen for the isolated estate to renew its historic links with the village. She wants the family to organise an event before the year's out that will relaunch Kelly House and connect them with the locals once again.
I would suggest definitely opening the house for certain days of the week while the work's going on to see the work in progress. That, again, gets people involved in the project. I also think that you need to involve the village in a way that actually you're inviting them to come and help. You need to investigate what labourers out there, what craft skills are out there that might actually just be prepared to come and do a couple of hours every week.
But getting apprentices in and enlisting local volunteers is only the start. Saving Kelly House will need a regular income, and Ruth has thought of how this can be attained.
What I really think needs to happen first and foremost is to complete the work that's been started on the annex and the flat above the two-tier kitchen. Instead of just starting it, doing a bit here and a bit there, it's really got to be finished, because that's income. And you need income.
Sophie and Chris plan to move into one of the apartments on site, but Ruth thinks this is a luxury they can ill afford.
Coming to the flat, I don't want to disappoint you, but I really don't think that you two should take up occupation there. That is a source of revenue. And I think what you should be doing, even if it's just for the next 1, 2, 3 years, is actually camping in this house.
I've got to be, I speak on a personal level here. I'm not very happy about not being able to live in the flat. It might be a selfish thing, but at the moment, Sophie and I feel like we are camping. It's not just camping in our own home, we're camping in someone else's house.
I understand that emotionally, but This family desperately needs income. And Sophie, you're not going to want to hear this either, but I think in the short term you should go out to full-time employment, because I think that's where you can best serve the interests of the family.
Lastly, after generations of procrastination, Ruth wants to see the family pull together.
I really would love to see, before my next visit, I would really love to see the outside of the house properly finished painting.
Ruth's visit has reignited Warren's enthusiasm for his ancestral home. And just weeks later, restoration work begins in earnest. The Prince's Foundation for the Built Environment specialises in teaching fledgling craftsmen historic building methods.
Because of the importance of the house and the importance of every piece of the fabric within it, we've got to conserve and save everything we can. Nice and gently, and just work it in. That's lovely.
The apprentices will work throughout the summer. It's the first step on Kelly's road to restoration. But will the family follow Ruth's advice and finish what they've started?
Paintwork's rubbish, the floor hasn't been done.
And will Ruth's compromise prove too much for Chris?
It all seems at the moment like someone else is going to be reaping the benefits, and I'm not particularly happy with that.
There's been a Kelly at Kelly House in Devon for nearly 1,000 years. But this historic lineage could soon end, as, after years of neglect, this fine country mansion is on the verge of collapse. With no money to pay for vital repairs, drastic action is required. Ruth Watson's been called in to help. Realising the gravity of the situation, she's given the family a wake-up call. Liz Kelly thinks it's just what they need.
We're just sort of dragging our feet. What should we do? What should we do? And I think it's given us a shot in the arm, if you like, or a kick up the butt. Got us moving.
With little revenue coming in, Warren has seen the house deteriorate over the years. But Ruth's come up with a no-cost solution that will herald the start of restoration. A team of apprentices from the Prince's Foundation for the Built Environment has begun a regeneration programme at Kelly, and they've made a start repairing precious 18th century walls.
We've gone in nicely. Yeah, we're about ready to get this stone back in there. We slide it in.
Sounds good.
Backfill it with as much of the earthen mortar as we can.
As well as learning their craft, the apprentices are also creating a living museum of historic building methods. Tutor Henry Rumbold is delighted that his pupils get the chance to hone their skills on such a significant building.
The greatest thing for me about the house is that for these 3 weeks, the house has come alive. We've had these 10 people working here, and it's become livable and enjoyable. And so it just shows by bringing craftspeople into the house and doing this work that it's regenerating the house.
Buoyed by the progress, Warren Kelly's called in a group of building surveyance students from Plymouth University to do some of the heavy work. They make a start clearing years of neglect in the Tudor kitchen.
I think it's quite nice for the Kellys because we get really excited about things like beetles. Yeah. And it's probably not very nice for them, but so we really like seeing beetles and rot. And so hopefully it makes them feel a little bit better.
But if Kelly House is to survive, it urgently needs a regular income. With 2 flats on the estate, Ruth wants to see both refurbished and let. Boyfriend Chris and daughter Sophie were hoping to live in one of the properties. Chris is far from overjoyed at the prospect of having to give it up.
Well, it wasn't entirely happy days for me, because I did want to be moving in here. We're doing all the work on it at the moment and getting everything sorted out to be able to move in. We just spent thousands of Sophie's savings on the electricians, and another couple of thousand more on the kitchen, which is going to go in here eventually. And it all seems at the moment like someone else is going to be reaping the benefits, and I'm not particularly happy with that.
Without an urgent cash injection, Kelly House is doomed. Despite his disappointment, Chris realises that at least in the short term, compromise is necessary. Local holiday letting agent Adam Bolt has been called in to assess the Tudor flat. Located in the heart of Kelly's historic estate, Sophie and Chris hope this will get them a premium rent.
This is going to be the kitchen area, straight dining room.
Expected. Yes.
Yeah.
Real estate is 2 bedrooms, sleeps 4 to 8, depending on whether they want sort of additional sleeping in the in other rooms. So really, it's 4. This room, I think, is getting close to completion.
I'll have a look round and we can have a chat afterwards, shall we?
That sounds good. Okay.
Fantastic. Okay. Right.
But Chris and Sophie are only part way through their refurbishment.
I mean, our clients now are looking for really a minimum of what they've got at home nowadays, if not looking to surpass that, really. And so, yes, where we are now, there's still a long way to go. Without obviously seeing an end product, but I would look potentially in the region of about £600 that we would advertise the property at. Now, obviously, charging that sort of money, our clients are going to be expecting a certain finish. You know, you haven't got a ceiling in the other room, so it's quite difficult to tell as yet, but we'd be there or thereabouts. But, you know, the selling points, obviously, the history and so on, are going to help to balance that out for you.
The valuation comes as a big disappointment.
I'm not happy with the price. I think he's wrong, I'll be honest. £600 a week is less than £100 a night for 4 people. This isn't a travel lodge, and it will never be a travel lodge. You know, we want to. This is a 4-star accommodation, 5-star accommodation.
That's what we're aiming for.
Mm-hmm.
It's 3 months since Ruth's last visit. With only 4 weeks until the Kelly House relaunch, she's back in Devon to check on progress, and is surprised to discover that change is in the air.
Joy of joys, there are people working on the stonework. And that is really good news because they look like they know what they're doing.
Improvement is being made as work takes place all over the estate. And Chris has been busy learning new skills with the apprentices.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, you're getting the masterclass.
Well, we can see we've prepared the background, guys, here. We've got a fairly good key on this wall, unless you want to see it all running down.
Oh, it's all running down my jumper already. Which way am I going to run this then? I'll take it on that side?
No, on that blade. That's
that
right.
blade,
Yeah.
like so.
Yep.
And then in and upwards.
Yep. Push it on hard and then just wipe it on. Let go.
Oh,
that's beautiful. Now take it off, and that's fine. That's it. That's okay.
I'm just trying to force it in there because it seems to be coming back out again.
Well, it's a technique that it isn't easy to understand and to use. It is quite tricky, isn't it?
It is. It's trickier than I expected.
Yeah. But Kelly House needs to earn its keep. Ruth has suggested the family renovate and rent out 2 flats.
Hello.
Nice to see you again.
How are you?
Work has yet to start on the Victorian annex, but Chris and Sophie have been making some progress on the Tudor flat. They want to live in it, but Ruth's hoping they've changed their mind.
How do you feel about the notion of camping in the house rather than occupying this flat?
I'm not sold on it per se. I don't really want to be in there.
Yeah.
But as a means to an end, in terms of getting this place rented out, definitely.
Well, good for you, because you've moved your position and because you've been very honest about this. Initially, this was the dream to live here. I suggested the house, you were very anti that. So I have to give you full marks because, you know, it's nice that you realise that compromises have to be made in order to get where you want to be at the end.
The price that we were given by the estate agent was roughly £600
a week
for a weekly.
And that was with 2 bedrooms?
Yes.
We're still looking at £2,500 a month or so, which is income you currently don't have.
Ruth's pleased to hear about their change of heart, but like the letting agent, she's concerned that the flat is far from finished.
I don't want to pour water on your endeavours because I'm really impressed that you've come on so far. I think you're quite away from a stage of letting this out because I do think that anybody, whether it's a long-term rental or a holiday rental, do require finishing touches.
As well as working on the flat, Sophie has been busy looking for full-time employment.
Sophie, what about you and the job? I did suggest that perhaps you went out and got paid employment.
Yeah, I've found a few jobs that I would like to have, but I've applied for about 10 so far and nothing's come back, but a couple of them have still got their deadlines.
Ruth's becoming increasingly anxious. Not only are the flats unfinished, Sophie still hasn't got a job, and any thought of revenue coming in is a long way off. Ruth wants to find out what Warren's been up to.
Been looking at fabrics really for possible use in the annex, in the first floor room.
Right. You don't think that's a bit the cart before the horse? I mean, these kind of papers go for about £80 a roll retail.
Yes,
You're looking at probably 20, 30 rolls. I mean, it's not like doing the downstairs loo.
No.
Have you got enough money amongst the family members to get the flat done and the annex done?
We're going to struggle, I think, yes, is the answer.
Kelly House desperately needs an income, and Ruth's afraid that Warren's got his priorities wrong.
I really would like to see that flat done, because as long as that's done, then you've got some revenue coming in. And I think that is really, really important. That's what I'm looking to see from you, and from the whole family, I'm looking to see that flat done.
OK, yes.
Perturbed by the lack of progress, Ruth departs, worried that the procrastination that has reigned here for generations is set to continue.
The Kellys still seem to be pottering around too much. There is no overall plan, no structure, no feeling that they're working as a cohesive unit to get this work done in a structured fashion. So really, as I leave, I actually feel a combination of frustration and disappointment.
Over the next month, Kelly House undergoes something of a sea change. The apprentices have restored crucial timber and masonry, while the student surveyors have brought a new lease of life to the once abandoned Elizabethan kitchen. Sophie and Chris continue renovating the Tudor flat, and Warren almost finishes painting the front of the house. Kelly House might be slowly emerging from its slumber, but Ruth wants to see the estate reconnect with the local community. The family has organised a relaunch to showcase the recent renovation programme and attract much-needed helpers. Invitations have been sent out, and with the lot riding on today, Ruth Watson's back to oversee proceedings.
Today is the day of the launch party at Kelly, and I don't know how it's going to go. I have no idea. I have no idea whether they've done anything at all, actually. It all looks the same. I can only hope.
The Kellys are launching their work-in-progress museum, but have left putting it together until today.
Oh, hello, I thought I'd find you in here. How are you?
We're fine,
yes,
thank you.
How are you doing? This is part of the...
Part of the museum, work-in-progress museum. So we're just assembling items for people to look at. And these ones just putting up are the joints.
Right.
Because we've had the students from the Prince's Foundation here doing a lot of work. So we've got quite a lot of examples to show people of all the horrible problems we've found. And
I don't want to be picky when I've only just arrived, but there isn't a lot here, and I know you have got enormous amounts. So
we've got more to bring into the room.
For today?
For today.
Why is it being taken to the last minute before things...
Well, the last minute is because the men have only just been finishing, so we've been taking photographs this morning.
What time are you expecting people to come, and what are you going to be giving them?
3 o'clock. 3 o'clock, we're sort of doing tea and cake in probably the dining room, and then have this on display, and we're going to project the website onto a projector.
In the next room.
To bring in revenue, the Kellys urgently need to let 2 dormant apartments on the estate. Chris and Sophie have been redecorating the Tudor flat, but Ruth discovers that it's still nowhere near finished.
Now, you see, this is where I have a big problem, because I was told on my last visit the flat was nearly ready and they only had to do a bit in the bathroom. I don't know what they think they've got to do, but it's an enormous amount. The finishes are so poor, the bath is stained, it needs re-enamelling, the paintwork's rubbish, the floor hasn't been done, the basin and the unit. The problem is it needs a lot more work, but above all, it needs more professionalism.
Ruth wants to know from Chris why it's all taking so long.
I have to say that I am concerned. I've just walked through this flat. This flat and the annex are meant to be the first things to be finished and completed in order to get revenue in order to have some money coming in to do things, yeah? There's so much that is still of such poor quality. Yes. I think that actually what's required is for you to go to a bath store of some description and actually tell them to come in and make a bathroom in there. You know, it might cost £1,000, but it would be done deal, finished.
You did hit the nail on the head. It's £1,000.
Yeah.
That's £1,000 we don't have. And in order to get even close to that, we need, Sophie and I need to actually be working, drawing an income, so that either we've got the income to put that £1,000 in as an investment, or however that works, or we can borrow against the ability to repay it.
Without a cash injection, the flats will remain unfinished. But Chris has come up with a timely solution to the problem.
We've both decided that the best way to move this forward is for us both to be drawing an income.
What's happening on that front? Have you been for interviews or have you been looking for jobs? What's been happening?
I have a job waiting for me.
And that starts fairly soon?
It starts as soon as I want it to, and in fact I started yesterday.
Right, good. How is Sophie progressing with her job search?
Believe it or not, she's been offered a job manufacturing chocolates.
Manufacturing chocolates. Is this for Sophie to go and work with a chocolate producer, chocolate supplier?
No, it's actually a company that produces dairy products locally. And she took them some of her chocolates.
Right.
And they basically said, we want you to work for us, manufacturing chocolates, but also selling their product alongside her own.
While I was certainly surprised that Chris announced that he was going to go back to work and Sophie too, it's a jolly good thing because really they're not achieving very much here and at least it will bring some money in.
With the grand relaunch of Kelly House due to begin, Warren and Sophie are way behind schedule. And a sudden storm threatens to turn weeks of planning into a washout. Kelly House, in its heyday, used to employ most of Kelly Village, but for generations the mansion has been in decline, isolated from the community. Thanks to the help of Ruth Watson, this handsome house is undergoing a revival and is once again opening its doors to the public. It's the day of the Kelly launch party, and although it's wet and miserable, the family is still hoping to draw in the locals in a bid to sign up volunteers. But Warren Kelly and his daughter Sophie are running out of time. And Ruth wants to ensure that the new work-in-progress museum, due to be unveiled today, looks professional.
Guys, can I stop you? These look very good. But let's move this right down the middle of the room, this here. Right. So it's right in the centre so people can go around either side of it.
Okay.
You know, I think we need to spread our treasure.
The Kellys have no idea how many people will turn out, but Ruth's convinced they need to make better use of the space.
Nearly there. Hang on. Stop. Okay, that's better.
We'll put these in.
The intentions are really good, right? I approve of that and applaud it. It's the presentation which is just not great. Oh, that leg's a bit dodgy, be careful.
Despite the dreary weather, the relaunch of Kelly House has attracted hordes of locals.
Enjoy the house, sir. Thank you. If you'd like to line your umbrellas up.
After years of seclusion, the doors of Kelly House are once again open to the public. The mansion has been gradually falling into disrepair for years, but not all the guests share Ruth's sense of urgency when it comes to restoration.
You know, behind there you can actually see up through the next floor and up to the ceiling and out.
You just sort of seal this off and go and live in the next
you
room.
Obviously have the same culture. Is this a Devonian thing?
Otherwise you'd have a nervous breakdown, wouldn't you?
So you just sort of resign to it?
Yes, you have to be, don't you?
Well, no, you don't.
Family and friends are hard at work promoting the house and signing up as many volunteers as they can.
We're going to do tours sort of by appointment, you know, for small groups.
I can't believe they've done it so quickly. Well, experts. I mean, they're all qualified masons.
There will be guided tours which we'll publicise for, you know, groups to come.
Warren's going to do a short speech in a little while, just outlining what it is that everyone's here for.
This is the visitor's book. Have you signed our visitor's book?
Despite the rain, nearly 200 people turn out. The relaunch has proved a huge success.
The purpose of today's launch really is to display the start of our work in progress museum, and this is really going to record the work that we're doing on the house over the next few years. There are sheets around if anyone would like to become a friend of Kelly House and receive our newsletter, which is quarterly, or indeed become a volunteer, and we have plenty of jobs for volunteers. Thank you all for coming.
The people of Kelly are delighted to see inside the house after all these years.
I think it's absolutely overwhelming. It's amazing how many people have turned up to support the family and the house and the projects that are undergoing, and it's just what the community needed. Support back for all the support that the Kellys have given the community. Brilliant.
For one man, it's a chance to visit the property his father worked on in the 1930s.
And we've always said it's a shame that an estate like this had to go down, like, but, so it's marvellous if it can be rectified and, yeah.
5 months ago, Kelly House was in peril. Today, thanks to the hard work of the family, the first steps have been made towards a brighter future.
So a successful afternoon. Lots of people.
Yes.
Anybody signing up to be a volunteer, give money, help, do anything useful?
We've had about, I think, 15 people sign up to volunteer, and a reasonable more signing up to be friends.
Yes.
So we might be up to about 75 or
That'd be good. How have you found this whole experience? Has it been good or bad?
Yeah, very good. Absolutely. It's given us an incentive to get on and do something. It's given us the energy as well.
I do think you have now got the opportunity to do this, and really it is going to be down to your energy and drive.
Yeah.
It is hard work, Warren, and you come from a long line of people who've idled their way around. And now, it's got to change, because that's the only way this house and you within it will survive. You can do all of these things. It's just a question of whether you will do them.
Whitbourne Hall is an impressive stately home set in 8 acres of splendid grounds. But this great house, now divided into 23 apartments, faces an uncertain future. The residents are struggling to meet the annual renovation costs and can't agree on how best to increase revenue.
Whitbourne Hall is made up not of one individual, but of 40 people.
Ruth Watson has definite ideas on what needs to be done.
Too many people here have got too many opinions.
There's a lot of talk here. Surely things have got to change.
Evolution is a painful and bloody process sometimes.
Can Ruth win the community over and encourage them to pull together to save Whitbourne Hall for the future?
I question how this place really is managed and run.
Whitbourne Hall is a Grade II listed Palladian mansion, nestled in the Worcestershire countryside. This magnificent house was built in 1860 by the wealthy Bickerton Evans family, but over the years they struggled to keep the estate going. In the summer of 1977, the family invited a group of friends to move into Whitbourne in return for help with its upkeep. They set up a commune-like existence in a bid to live harmoniously together. Quentin Colley was one of the original members.
The ethos at that time of that group was self-sufficiency, and I suppose people could see that as being a hippie style of life.
Country house communal living in Britain began in the late 1940s, but became fashionable in the 70s. The romantic dream at Whitbourne Hall, however, didn't last long. 3 years later, The community disbanded and a company was formed to purchase the property for £70,000. Whitbourne is still home to an eclectic group of individuals, but the only surviving members of the original community are Quentin and his wife Heather.
We still believe the house, the gardens, those are our home, and it's a beautiful place to live.
Today, it's a very different story from the altruistic ideal. The estate has been converted into 23 self-contained units, lived in by 37 residents. Two recent recruits are Des Dodge and Raj Sani.
There's a real mix of people. I'm an engineer, Des is a hairdresser, Quentin and Heather are retired school teachers.
Whitbourne prides itself on its democratic ethos.
One thing, size doesn't matter here. We're all equal.
But with all residents having a say, decision-making is far from plain sailing.
People are always going to have differences of opinion, whether it's to do with should you have gravel outside, should you be using herbicides, should we be allowed to park here as opposed to park there.
I think that's been a little pessimistic. I think on lots of issues there is a consensus, isn't there?
Roof repairs, refurbishment and preservation are a constant costly concern for Whitbourne. The hall's current annual maintenance bill stands at £42,000. Next year, it's estimated at nearly double that. And the community is divided on how to solve the hall's financial woes.
At the end of the day, majority rule is the name of the game.
Desperate to secure the hall's future, Raj has called in businesswoman Ruth Watson in a bid to get the residents to agree on a plan of action. Today, Ruth's in Worcestershire to meet them.
Hello. Hello. Welcoming committee, quite literally. You must be Raj, yes? And you were the person who first contacted me, yes, on the events committee. Yes, lovely.
Hello, Ruth, I'm Des.
And you're chairman?
Current chairman.
Chairman. And Quentin?
That's right.
And you were one of the original members of the community back in the 70s.
A few lifetimes ago.
Fantastic. Well, I have to say, it's the most impressive portico I've ever seen. It's just amazing. Yeah. I'd love to see the rest of the house, yeah.
Ruth begins her tour in the Grand Hall, one of Whitbourne's 5 communal areas.
This is quite extraordinary, isn't it? Everything about it. I feel as if I'm in some kind of huge Roman baths or something or other. The glass roof in good order?
Reasonable order in the fact that it's now watertight. We've had a lot of work done on the roof and the lanterns above what you actually see. However, there's a fair bit of work to do on the plasterwork. It's all interior now, so it's more decorative.
Built 150 years ago, Whitbourne Hall is designed to impress on every level. And the gilded drawing room is no exception.
Now, I expected it to be big, but what I didn't expect was it to be quite so beautiful. I mean, it's just really charming.
We do know that each panel that we have here for the windows originally in 1860 cost £970.
Per window?
Per window, which is roughly the cost of building the stable block at the back of the house.
My God, so it was obviously a pure gold leaf.
Yes, presumably it would be.
To keep costs down, residents share general upkeep between themselves, from keeping the gardens in trim to preserving the intricate fabric of the building.
We got it replastered, new mouldings put on, and over the last year we've been painting it.
So I mean, gilding is a craft. Who does the gilding?
Well, there are a number of us that are talented in the respect where we can hold a paintbrush, and we've just had to copy what was here already.
We do all the outside work ourselves, except for cutting the hedges. There's a group of people here still willing to put their time into cutting grass.
And in fact, I'd say that people fight over who gets to do the lawn.
Yeah.
It's such a privileged job.
And I bet it's the men fighting, not the women.
Absolutely.
To generate an income, Whitbourne Hall hosts weddings. It's licensed to hold 12 a year, but is failing to achieve this figure.
How many weddings have you got planned for this coming year?
5.
5. Would you like to do more?
I'm going to get shot here. I personally don't have a problem with having a lot more weddings. However, I do feel that other people in the house may have problems with that.
Right. So 5, you're not even got 50% of what you could do.
Weddings bring in little revenue. To get to the bottom of the estate's finances, Ruth and the residents retire to the library.
I'd like to understand the finances better of the house, because it's obviously not a cheap place to run.
We have a service charge, which obviously each unit contributes to.
How much is that?
And that is £22,000 a year.
So approximately £1,000 per residence?
Yes.
Yep.
And then in addition to that, of course, it's the events that we hold here.
Right.
And that equates between 12 and 15,000 a year.
In terms of profit or turnover?
Turnover.
Right, so that's not a contribution, is it, as such? It's whatever the profit you're making from it is. OK, and how much do you think the house costs to run?
This year's budget is 42,000.
So, at the moment, your total income is via the service charge, and that's in the region of 22,000. You should have income from events, but there's a question mark about whether they really are contributing. So there is actually a whacking great shortfall, isn't there?
Yes.
In the past, Whitbourne met major renovation costs by selling vacant apartments. But the last one has sold for £150,000. And now the residents need to find alternative ways to raise cash.
Have the residents had any other thoughts about ways and means of procuring more income?
Potters, art displays in the house as a possibility. Local shows being held here.
Right.
But we're not talking about large amounts of money, and this is the problem there.
No. It's one of the worries that people have, that any activities you do here might impinge on their enjoyment of the hall.
That's right. That is a major concern of most of the residents.
There's going to have to be a balance, a trade-off between intrusion on people's lives and the necessary money that's got to be raised to keep the place renovated and running.
With the opinions of nearly 40 people to consider, Ruth's got her work cut out if she's to find an agreeable, viable solution.
What seems to be the problem? Not enough money, but also residents who may or may not like the idea of more things occurring here. The fact is, they bought these flats because they were peaceful and quiet. And the idea of sharing this house with a lot of people celebrating weddings and the like, I don't think is going to go down very well with everybody.
Whitbourne Hall is in crisis. Without help, the crumbling building and its ethos could be lost forever.
I think the hall has to decide whether it's a hobby or a business.
But has Ruth come up with a radical resolution to Whitbourne's democratic failings?
I'm in favour of a despot, a dictator, taking over here.
Magnificent Whitbourne Hall in Worcestershire was built by wealthy vinegar magnate Edward Bickerton Evans in the mid-1800s as a testament to his success. The mansion was constructed in the Greek Revival style, inspired by extravagant expeditions to Europe. Its impressive portico boasts 6 Ionic fluted pillars. Each 30 feet in height, they are slightly barrel-shaped to give a correct sense of proportion to the eye. The house also has one of the largest glass ceilings in any private residence in Europe, and a now derelict palm house. The Bickerton Evans resided at Whitbourne for over a century. Then in 1977, the ailing mansion became home to a community of friends who resided here as a family, living, eating and working the land together. 3 years later, they disbanded and formed a company to buy the property. Today, Whitbourne Hall is home to 37 residents who live in 23 self-contained apartments. Despite its fine appearance, the hall is in need of constant repair. This year's maintenance bill is £42,000, and next year it's expected to double. But revenue from the annual service charge and events are failing to reach anywhere near that amount. Ruth Watson has been called in to help secure Whitbourne's future by Raj Sani.
With a house of this size, one can never underestimate the amount of work that may suddenly need doing.
Ruth's on a mission to find practical answers to the estate's financial problems. But before she comes up with a plan, she needs to canvass the opinions of as many residents as possible. Her first port of call is Quentin and Heather Colley, who were part of the original community.
Well, this is nice. You've got a view of the palm house.
Oh, yes.
So how long have you actually been living here?
We came in October 1977.
My goodness. And then you all lived tout ensemble in the house to
That's
begin
right,
with.
we did.
What made you decide that you needed your individual accommodation?
Trying to share bathrooms. I think we were getting a bit tired of all eating together all the time.
How much do you feel that the original concept of community living still exists?
If people are being, in one's opinion, slightly unreasonable, you have to deal with it with a public face. But somewhere along the line, that pressure's got to be released, hasn't it? So you can come in here and have a little hiss. It's just as well that nobody's got a bug in here.
What would you think is the best way forward in terms of actually producing more income for the house?
I think if the house could earn its living Monday to Friday, so that when everybody else came back at the weekends, we could all enjoy it together, it would be great.
Maintaining the hall's tranquility is also top of the agenda for Captain Cliff McFarlane, who lives above one of the hall's main function rooms.
I think it's in the balance of raising revenue but not disturbing us too much because we live here.
But do you think that's actually possible?
I think the special events that would be in keeping, art shows, yoga and other practices.
Yeah, so quiet things.
But I would prefer quiet things.
The staging of events at Whitbourne is clearly a sensitive issue. One way to boost revenue while ensuring serenity could be to increase the £1,000 flat rate annual service charge. But the size of apartments varies dramatically, and not everyone is in agreement with such a proposal.
Yeah. So you're...
Dave,
how do you do? How do you do? Dave, you bought your own little unit?
Yes.
I say little, it's maybe huge, is it?
Well, mine is one of the smallest, actually.
Right.
It's where the butler lived, butler's pantry.
In the butler's pantry?
Yeah.
The whole flat?
Yeah.
It's just the butler's pantry. Margaret, Rodney, do you think you pay enough service charge?
Yes.
Do you think it's right and fair that everyone pays exactly the same regardless of the size of their apartment?
Yes.
You pay the same service charge as everybody else,
Yes.
even the 5-room apartments. I mean, do you think that's equitable?
I think it is an unfair, deep down, I do think it's a very unfair system.
It's become a sort of posh block of flats with some, that's how it is now.
Previously, Whitbourne was in the luxurious position of having a solution to any funding crisis.
Over the years, the way money's been raised here is by selling things off. They've sold off the stables, they've sold off apartments, but now they've reached the end of the road. So from now on in, they've got to find money from another source.
With the last flat sold, Whitbourne needs to become commercial while still remaining a home. Town Clerk Richard Chapman moved in only 18 months ago and has already recognised this.
There's a lot of talk here. I'm quite happy to live here as we are, but if they want more business to support the house, then surely things have got to change.
So your personal view, how would you take this forward?
Well, I think I would investigate the daytime conferences. I think the hall has to decide whether it's a hobby or a business.
Over the years, the way of life at Whitbourne has evolved from its classless roots. It's now home to a broad range of inhabitants, from retired pensioners to working professionals. Keeping everyone satisfied is a delicate process, as Raj Sani, who came here 4 years ago, has come to realise.
Do you think that running events successfully is the way out of the problem?
I do. I personally have no restrictions on the number of events and the type of events that we hold. The downside is that you really do have to pay attention to every little single thing, because you have the potential of upsetting people quite easily. There has been some disharmony. I've experienced it.
What would your individual tack be on how to get more money in here?
That's why I got you in, Ruth.
Individual tack is to do this.
Ruth has discovered that there's certainly no shortage of opinions at Whitbourne, and, as a result, little consensus.
This house desperately needs a good income stream. So right now, I'm in favour of a despot, a dictator, taking over here.
The residents are willing to become commercial, but only on their own terms. So Ruth needs to find a solution that will preserve their privacy while still bringing in revenue. One option is to take advantage of the hall's idyllic location. Ruth visits a farm 8 miles from Whitbourne to meet Mark Gordon, an entrepreneur who markets a novel way of making a profit from tranquil, rural settings.
This is really amazing.
Featherdown Farms is a new concept in holiday accommodation that celebrates outdoor living. It combines comfortable camping in homely tents with added mod cons.
This is absolutely lovely. I mean, there's so much attention to detail. It's really quite sophisticated in its rusticness and the sleeping arrangements.
There are 3 bedrooms. Just behind you, there's a little hideaway one for the children, where they not only sleep, but they play.
It's great. And what about for adults, though? Proper bed?
Comfortable master bedroom out the back, and then 2 bunk beds in the adjoining bedroom.
And you've got a real proper table, which you can sit, eat, drink, read, talk. I'm completely convinced of its idyllic nature. I mean, this is everyone's dream. But tell me more about the commercial side of things.
A couple of crews come over at the beginning of the season, and they put the tents up, and then at the end of the season, they take them down again.
And how popular are they?
Well, they've been going for 3 years now, and they've been booked out, really.
Really?
We've had to put up the full sign, usually shortly into the season.
And what sort of rents do people have to pay to come and stay, an average?
Average of about £400 for a weekend or a midweek break here.
And what's in it for the landowner?
The farmer will get a fixed sum of money every time the tent is full.
The most successful locations turn over £30,000 a year. But Ruth wonders how this could work for a country house like Whitbourne.
Now, I have a problem, because I love this concept, but the house I have in mind is not a working farm. It's a very large country house. I mean, no hope for them?
No, that shouldn't be a problem at all, because we've got a new product in development called hideaway homes. And these will be situated next to country houses instead of next to working farms.
Oh, right.
And the theming, instead of being a farm theme, will be around the 19th century and exploration.
Ruth's also aware that residents would prefer events to take place on weekdays, and thinks the communal rooms at Whitbourne could be utilised effectively to bring peace, harmony and revenue. Ruth's come to try yoga in London's fashionable Primrose Hill to meet ex-lawyer Jonathan Satin, who's made spiritual exercise good business.
Now, obviously you're in a city doing this. Do you think yoga works in rural areas? Is there a call for it?
I think yoga can work anywhere.
Yeah.
I think it is location driven. You can run retreat sites, which people obviously do, and I think it's not quite if you build it, they will come, but I think that if you have a very good teacher and you have a good environment and you're teaching the right styles of yoga and you price it correctly, it should work.
Is there an optimum class size?
I think if you're running a retreat, 20 is a good number. I think you can transport this into a lot of different places. I think you could run these in country houses.
Yeah.
You can do it.
One-day courses during the week could earn Whitbourne around £15,000 a year, while still maintaining the residents' privacy. Encouraged by her research, Ruth's back in Worcestershire to present her findings to the residents at Whitbourne Hall.
First of all, I'd just like to say to you that the success of this house is down to you. It's only the way it is because a dedicated band of people have worked very, very hard on keeping it the way it is now.
First, Ruth tackles the thorny issue of the property's annual service charge.
Your running costs exceed the service charge by about £10,000 a year. So my first suggestion, which will not be music to your ears, is that the service charge is going to have to go up. So to my mind, the equitable way of going about this is to do it by square footage. But I really do think that it's fundamental that running costs are met annually by service charges. So we now get to how you get an income stream in.
Ruth firmly believes that the splendid mansion should be attracting more weddings.
Weddings are top of the list because that's the place where most people are prepared to spend a lot of money. Those weddings, I don't think, should realise you as profit anything less than £4,000. It has to be professionally done. If you were to interview and hire a wedding planner and you said, what we want from you is a fee for use of location, and that sum has not got to be less than £4,000. If you were to say you can do 12 events at £4,000 a year profit making, I think that's entirely realisable.
I like your thing about a wedding planner. I think that would work very well because I think it would take pressure off the people in the house. But I would have thought we could have done more daytime conferences here.
It doesn't strike me as being the absolute obvious place to have conference events because unfortunately you're up against hotels and places which are so well geared up to it.
Licensed to operate 12 events per year, Whitbourne should be making £48,000 from weddings alone. And they could be realising even more by capitalising on the hall's peaceful location.
There is a company called Featherdown that have set up on working farms. I have to say, they're sort of glorified tents, but they are so much more than tents. They are actually rolling out another model, which is to do with country houses, and it's called hideaway homes. Now, not only are they lovely for guests to come and stay in, but actually they're very lovely for the landowners because you get a cut from the rent that's paid. Now, it did seem to me to fit in with the ethos of what you were doing here because it's essentially quiet.
As well as luxury camping, Ruth's keen for the hall to make use of the grand communal rooms on weekdays.
You obviously could trial the idea of yoga retreats as well. I think, again, it fits in with your ethos, and there are lots of people prepared to spend quite a lot of money to go away for a week to do yoga, and you would obviously have to get professionals in. I totally accept I'm speaking from a point of view of somebody who has never done yoga in their life and couldn't.
Ruth's parting shot is to get the residents to stop talking and start working.
I'd like to charge you with the notion that you would trial the Featherdown Farms thing, just to see how it worked. I mean, it would be good for you, it'd be good for them, you know. Is it a concept that you could roll out or not? I think it'd be a good idea to see if you can contact some yoga centres to see whether they would like to come and do some yoga here. And I also think that you ought to be trying to find a wedding planner. So when I come back, I'll be very interested to hear how things have gone on. But in the meantime, thank you very much for your time. And I shall wend my way.
Remarkably, Ruth's suggestions appear to have gone down well with the residents. But the honeymoon period doesn't last long.
Raj, I'm going to stop you. How many people have you got signed up?
We've got 2.
Right. I don't need to go any further.
Whitbourne Hall, set in the heart of the Worcestershire countryside, is in financial trouble. With little revenue coming in to fund ongoing renovation, the residents are at odds as to how best to generate a healthy income. Raj Sahni moved here just 4 years ago, but has already become frustrated.
Whitbourne Hall is made up not of one individual, but of 40 people. You are bound to get some people who are very calm and placid and go with the flow, and then you're also bound to get people who aren't.
To help the community agree on a way forward, Ruth Watson's come up with a range of money-making objectives. But the initial enthusiasm has waned.
There was a lot more discussion, a lot more debate, a lot more dissent, really.
I'm aware of the fact that evolution is a painful and bloody process sometimes.
No decision has been made on increasing the service charge, and residents are against the notion of daytime courses in yoga.
When this was mentioned in the company meeting, there was a lot of laughter. Why should Ruth feel that that was appropriate for us?
But Raj is determined to act on Ruth's suggestions.
I thought potentially there might not be a lot of money in yoga, but an area associated with growth and with personal development is NLP.
Neuro-linguistic programming claims to train the brain to think more positively. Raj is convinced that such classes would fit in perfectly with the sedate atmosphere at Whitbourne. Tom Mackay, an NLP expert from London, has come to meet Raj and fellow resident Des Dodge with a view to running weekday courses here.
Tom, we talk about NLP. What exactly does that encompass? What is it about?
It's often described as the technology of achievement. So it's about how we think, how we manage our emotions, and how we even use our physiology to achieve more success in any area. So it's about how we can communicate better with other people, but also how we communicate better with ourselves.
It is a question of taking you out of your comfort zone in a way.
Absolutely.
So you don't do any hypnosis?
A lot of the techniques are quite hypnotic, although they're not specifically what we call hypnosis. Had you time in mind, like a timescale in mind?
Well, we have a wedding that first weekend in September,
but
so
thereafter we're okay,
thereafter
aren't we?
we're free.
Okay.
With people willing to pay up to £95 for NLP day courses, this could prove a trouble-free and lucrative revenue stream for Whitbourne.
It's a wonderful setting, and it's probably the most serene and peaceful place that I'd have run a course in.
The fact is that the house is empty during the week. I think putting workshops on is a very good and suitable way of using the space we've got.
I think it's got huge potential.
But courses alone won't go anywhere near keeping the estate afloat. Ruth Watson has got wind of dissent among the residents at Whitbourne. Determined not to allow them to scupper her plans, she's back in Worcestershire to confront them.
I can't help feeling that the structure of how this house is run has somehow got to change, because I think that's where the future, the success of Whitbourne Hall, its survival, that's where it all lies.
Ruth's main concern is that any progress at Whitbourne is being hampered by the community's egalitarian ideals.
I don't think that you're a genuine democracy, because I don't think everyone has a real vote all the time. And I question how this place really is managed and run, because to me it dibs and dabs from certain areas and certain ethoses and certain conventions, and it doesn't add up in my head to a whole. Cliff, what are your thoughts?
I like the way we sort of get together and we discuss things and we work it out. It does take longer to do that, but I think we actually achieve a more comfortable solution.
I think that for me, the comfortableness is probably what I am uncomfortable about. If it does mean that this house is imperiled in some way financially because you don't raise enough money to keep it going and to look after it, then, the comfort to me has to be secondary. It's how this works viably in, I'm afraid, a slightly business way.
Weighed down by bureaucracy, Ruth thinks the residents aren't being entirely open about their feelings. She's drafted a survey to assess what they truly think of the hall's infrastructure. And to ensure total honesty, it's to be completed anonymously.
I would like every single resident here to actually fill in this form I just think that it would then give you a little bit of an opportunity to make changes should they be needed, or to see, you know, whether the majority of people think this does work as well as it possibly could.
The survey covers a wide range of issues, from what the community think of the management structure to the issue of the annual service charge.
I do think the effort that you make is absolutely unquestionable. You know, you all care and you all work hard. But I think the effectiveness of what you all do, I think, has to be really, tightened up.
Ruth is struggling to get the residents to agree on a way forward, but they do consent to trial upmarket camping in the secluded grounds. If the trial proves a success, Whitbourne will need more than their 8 acres of land, but could gain access to neighbouring fields. With the tent up, the residents are finally pulling together and putting the finishing touches to the newest residence at Whitbourne.
Anybody want some music while they work?
How are they supposed to get up to that top bunk?
Run and jump, I reckon.
I was going to say something, Ben, but it might be misconstrued.
As part of the deal, tents are erected at the beginning of the holiday season. All the residents would have to do is coordinate arrivals, departures and laundry once a week. Ruth is back at Whitbourne to check on progress.
I've come to see the posh camping trial. There's no one in the house, so I'm hoping that they're all up there doing something. This is incredible.
Hello. Hi, Ruth. How are you?
So great. Super.
Take a look at the bedroom.
A proper 6-foot bed. I feel like I want to go and hack steaks off live beasts and, get out there and grill them. It's great.
It actually fits in,
Yeah.
I think. Fits into the
I do
surroundings.
too.
Seriously thinking of moving in here and letting out the flats.
I don't blame you. I think it's utterly delightful. I really, really do. I'm totally taken with that. Is everyone on board for this? I mean, any dissenting voices?
Well, we haven't heard as yet.
Yeah.
But the fact is, because it's very new, because it's only just gone up.
Right.
I think there's a few that possibly haven't seen
it.
That may or may not fit.
But everyone who's seen it has been suitably impressed, I hope. Very much so.
But, as in all democracies, there's often opposition. Richard Chapman is leading the rebellion.
I think they think it's wonderful, and I think they see it as a panacea. But I'm sceptical about it. The place won't be our own because we will have people here all the time. I don't think it would suit the hall.
Six willing volunteers and their dog have been drafted in to put the Whitbourne camping trial to the test. Quentin is on hand to welcome them.
This is the campsite.
Wow.
And that's your campsite. Actually, over that.
The guests are more accustomed to a hotel when it comes to holidays.
Oh, that's nice and solid, isn't it?
So the notion of country house camping will be put to the ultimate test.
Hannah!
As well as being self-sufficient, holidaymakers are encouraged to be eco-friendly too, even down to generating the electricity. For Ruth, she's simply pleased to see some action at Whitbourne Hall.
As far as I'm concerned, this posh camping is fantastic. I love the notion of it. Whether it will be a success, I don't know. What I am finding, though, is that the key players here, the people who actually are on the board, as it were, are really beginning to realise that A, this must be run on more commercial principles, and B, that they're the ones doing all the work. Too many people here have got too many opinions, but they're not putting their money where their mouth is.
Yeah, excellent. This is fantastic. Lovely place.
Cheers, girls.
Cheers, girls.
After a comfortable night, the reluctant campers are up early for a hearty breakfast.
Oh, yum.
Good mushrooms. Always tastes better when it's cooked outside, doesn't it?
It does.
And Ruth is back to see how they fared.
Did you enjoy it?
We did.
We did,
Very much.
We
had really good fun.
Yeah, it's good. And you had a shower?
Yeah.
How was that?
Good.
And what about the grown-ups? How did you find lighting fires and making water hot and things like that?
Yeah, the fires were fine. Got them going this morning within about 20 minutes, half an hour.
Yeah.
No problems with that.
How much do you think that's important, that you're in the grounds of a big country house and that you could have access to it and perhaps it's more formal grounds?
I think that's very important because otherwise it would have just been a campsite. We could have been anywhere, but to be on the grounds of a lovely, stately home, it just made it very special.
Feels very safe as well for the children.
Yeah.
And the dog as well.
I mean, I really don't like camping, so this is something
So you're good
different.
test people
So,
then.
yeah, very good test people.
Would you come and do this again, do you think?
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. So success?
I think so.
Very much
so.
Yeah.
With some judicious planning, a village of 6 tents could turn over £30,000 a year, if the residents agree to it. The most effortless way for Whitbourne to increase revenue is to host more lucrative weddings. But in the last 6 months, the residents have failed to acquire the services of a wedding planner or increase their 5 original bookings. Ruth is not happy.
There's something going wrong about the way you're selling them. I'm dealing with houses that are nothing like as marvellous as this, with nothing like as good gardens, who are easily getting 40, 50, 60 weddings a year. I don't know whether it's to do with selling technique. I don't know whether you as a body of people are putting up too many obstacles about where people can do it, what they can do, but something is going wrong. I suspect that if there are too many reservations about what people can and can't do, then that's one of the problems.
Ruth's also far from impressed by the progress that's been made in arranging weekday courses.
Now, I had suggested doing yoga, but you are going ahead with the NLP, but it is a struggle to get the right number of people, and Raj, you put an enormous amount of work and time into it.
The reason that I chose NLP is that it has a crossover. It has a large personal market.
Raj, I'm going to stop you. How many people have you got signed up?
We've got 2.
Right, and how much work have you done? How many hours?
A lot.
Exactly. I don't need to go any further. It's not a model that works. My belief is that you have expended a lot of energy on the NLP, and that if that similar amount of energy had been put into the yoga, you probably would have got a better response.
Ruth leaves Whitbourne Hall disappointed by the distinct lack of progress.
At the moment, we're still wading through this sort of democratic soup. This house, if it's going to survive in this new era, has got to be run on more commercial footings. And that means they do have to do events, and they basically do have to stop conferring about every single last thread of the carpet.
Over the next 2 weeks, Raj pulls out all the stops to make her trial NLP course a success. Raj is also attending and has managed to triple the number of attendees. Instructor Tom Mackay is sharing his ethos of a happy state of mind with the class.
Find that time you felt really confident. That's it. Go back to that time, see what you saw, hear what you heard. Really feel those feelings of confidence increasing. Imagine with every breath you can find yourself feeling more and more confident, even more confident. Let it grow stronger and stronger with every breath. More and more confident, more and more confident. Very good, very good. Great. Good.
Just 12 NLP day courses per year could bring in around £12,000.
If you can do something that seemed impossible, what else can you do that seemed impossible as well?
Coupled with the income from weddings and upmarket camping, this could secure Whitbourne's future.
It's going. Yeah, it's going. It's going, yes!
Autumn. The all-important results of Ruth's survey are in.
That's a bit of a knock. That one stings.
And the residents are surprised at some of the conclusions.
For those that tend to say too much, for them to stop and think.
Well, that would save a lot of bother, wouldn't it?
I am not making any comment.
It's an important day at Whitbourne Hall. Ruth Watson has conducted an anonymous survey of residents, and the results are out today.
Look what I've got, the survey results.
Oh, brilliant, right. Obviously, we're not getting it right.
That's fair enough.
Well, I need to have longer to look at this. This is obviously quite detailed.
The questionnaire has revealed some surprising conclusions. 61% feel that communication between the management team and the residents needs to be improved.
That's a bit of a knock. That one stings.
And 1/3 think their opinions aren't being heard.
For those that tend to say too much, for them to stop and think.
I am not making any comment.
I genuinely believe that the people who push here are pushing for Whitbourne, not for themselves. And this is where people are taking it too personally.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's those that do the pushing that get the jobs done.
Well, it says leaseholders need to be honest and say what they really think.
Yeah.
Well, that would save a lot of bother, wouldn't it?
One contentious suggestion made by Ruth is to raise the annual service charge. But the questionnaire reveals that 89% think it would be prudent to do so.
I think that's a fairly obvious majority.
That's a strong one.
For some residents, like Dave Goodman, who's lived at Whitbourne for over 20 years, an increase would not be such good news.
I mean, it might mean that because the service charge is going up too much for me, that I might have to make plans a bit earlier to move, definitely. You know, it is a very sad fact.
It's 7 months since Ruth's first visit to Whitbourne, and she's back to meet the residents for the last time.
The real point about this is that you've gone from the community that you talk about to something which is not a community. There are aspects of it which are still communal, and then there's some other bits which are completely commercial, and this is really the nub of the problem.
We still believe in the ethos, if you like, of the community, even though it possibly does throw up quite a few interesting moments and what have you, but we get over those,
Yeah.
we get round them.
The problem is that relies on the people who have that ethos. And I'm looking, 30, 40, 50 years down the line at the future of this house, when, by necessity, those people will not be here.
The residents are in the process of considering running day courses and glamorous camping at Whitbourne. But Ruth thinks they're still missing a trick.
My vote is still for weddings as your most obvious, easiest route. I don't know whether we've improved on the figure for next year, have we?
Not yet.
Not yet.
But we have got quite a lot of inquiries in the pipeline.
I think this needs to be put on a professional footing because this is the easiest, quickest source of making money for this place.
Over the months, Ruth has struggled to motivate the residents, but at least her hard work hasn't gone completely unnoticed.
I think it's been a very worthwhile exercise. It made me realise just what we have going for us.
I'd actually say you've acted as a catalyst, and it's something that is needed. Perhaps we would have got there eventually, but you've just speeded us up slightly.
I mean, I would run a mile from all these meetings. It's just not for me. I think you're all completely crazy living here. Please find a way to raise the service charge, because that will initially just really resolve all the immediate problems about what you've got in the kitty. Let's drive on with this wedding thing. Take the easy route. That's what I would like you to do, is take the easy route.
Hopefully, Ruth having come here will motivate people into taking some action. People will think, OK, we do have to share the hall. We do need to bring in some extra revenue. Otherwise, there is a danger of things falling apart.
Abbey Dore Court in Herefordshire has been empty for almost a decade and is in a perilous state. Charis Ward has owned the estate since 1967, and she's determined to keep the house in the family.
It wouldn't be sold if I was around. No way.
Desperate to save Abbey Dore from dereliction, granddaughter Clare Sage has called in Ruth Watson to help. But finding a solution isn't going to be easy.
The whole family is so uninformed.
To bring in much-needed revenue, Ruth wants to see this fine house open as a bed and breakfast.
Well, from my point of view, I could think of nothing more ghastly.
Has Ruth Watson finally met her match in Charis Ward?
We haven't got a committee.
I actually do know what I'm talking about.
I do not know.
Do not know those figures. I am Jack Spratt.
Charis Ward fell in love with Abbey Dore Court over 40 years ago. She sold her small farm in Warwickshire and bought the estate for £12,000.
It is a very special place. The whole atmosphere here is totally different to anywhere that I've ever been to before. And I think that's where its strength lies.
A passionate horticulturalist, 81-year-old Charis has single-handedly cultivated a stunning garden out of the surrounding fields. Her creation attracts visitors from all over the country. Charis brought up her 3 children in the main house. But 10 years ago, when the property became too much to manage, she moved out into a smaller cottage on the grounds.
This is warm for a start. Having always lived in very cold houses, the feeling of being warm is quite surprising.
Left empty and unloved, Abbey Dore Court is falling into disrepair.
Houses can withstand anything. Houses will rise from the ashes if they're going to.
Charis's granddaughter, Clare Sage, is passionate about Abbey Dore Court. She and siblings Hannah and Julian grew up with their parents in the old servants' quarters. Clare's parents now live away, but the siblings, all in their 20s, still live on the estate. But it's Clare who has a strong affinity with the house.
I can't explain what it is about the house and just living here that I can't bear to see it, how it is and how it's falling apart. And knowing how it was, I think that's the worst, and how happy we all were in the house and how happy the house was.
Clare still lives in the servants' quarters and works as a hospital administrator. But it's her dream to give up her job and devote herself to restoring the mansion to its former glory.
My goal in life now is to make the house work and to make it a business and a home.
Grandmother Charis insists she's happy to take a back seat.
I don't really mind what happens to the house, as long as it doesn't intrude on the garden. I can't wait to back out, you know.
But as head of the family, Charis very much oversees proceedings. And if Clare's to get her wish, she'll have to convince her grandmother that she's up to the job.
We do differ, but we have discussions and some of the things she says I don't agree with, and some of the things I say she can't see that would work.
In a bid to win her grandmother over, Clare's called in renowned hotelier and businesswoman Ruth Watson to help save the crumbling pile. Ruth's come to Herefordshire to meet Clare. She receives a warm welcome, albeit under a rather precarious porch.
Hi there.
Hello. Are we safe?
Just about, yes.
I'm Ruth.
I'm Clare, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too, although I think we could find some better surroundings
Definitely,
than this.
yes.
I think this kind of defines dilapidation, doesn't
Yes,
it? Let's go in, let's go in.
Ruth discovers that part of the house is already being redecorated and the ornate plaster mouldings restored.
So, what's going on here, Clare? What are all these?
We had a horrible water leak in the drawing room and the bedroom above. A mains pipe burst, so we had water just pouring through. So luckily we're all insured, so we're having all the work redone at the moment.
But the insurance money will only pay for the rooms affected by the leak. Financing the rest is up to the family.
Oh, that's a very ugly mark on the wall.
Yeah, we had gutterings were blocked on the other side, so we didn't realise for quite some time. We've now kind of remedied it, so it is drying out.
Does nobody realise that all householders have to actually just get up once a year to clear the gutters?
Yeah, just no one took responsibility for it. We all just closed doors and it was out of sight, out of mind, and no one's really done anything with it.
So when your grandmother vacated, did she do that? You said it was because the house was too big, but did she literally just lock the door and say, sod it, don't care anymore?
Pretty much bluntly, yes. That's kind of just, it was just too much.
The house might be in a bad state of repair, but Clare is still lost in the romance of Abbey Dore Court.
This is the drawing room just in here.
Now, this isn't a small room.
No, this is definitely the main feature.
This is
one
lovely.
of the main features.
What a beautiful room.
This was just a lovely kind of family room, really. It had lots of kind of sofas and chairs. We had a rocking horse in the window.
Normally one wouldn't think this, but the pipes bursting mean that you were able to make an insurance claim.
It was a blessing in disguise, actually. It was horrendous when it happened, and to see the damage of the horse was just unbearable. But now it's just so exciting coming in here and just seeing it and imagining how it's going to look like when it's finished.
Clare realises that this is a good opportunity to get the whole house up and running, if she can persuade her grandmother to help.
Just watch your step as you come out here. It's very simple.
Oh, this is slightly overgrown.
Here's my grandmother, hard at work.
She certainly is.
Hello,
how do you do?
That's my grandmother.
Yes, and you're Charis.
Yes, I'm Charis.
Charis,
Yes.
very good to meet you. And what enormous effort you must put into this garden. It's so labour-intensive.
It is very labour-intensive, I suppose, but it's not too bad.
The gardens are looking in very good array and the house looks in desperate straits. Did you feel that you deliberately abandoned it or that you just...
No, it's never been abandoned.
It kind of, in a way, we just left it be, you know, because...
But it wasn't abandoned.
No, I think it's been easy to kind of close doors and it's left for time, other than when we've had the parties and things.
With Charis now in her 80s, the return of 3 grandchildren to Abbey Dore Court is something of a blessing.
Did you expect all the grandchildren to come back?
No, never.
So what would you have done?
What I'm doing now.
Which is?
Living here and doing the garden.
And then the rest of it would have just...
Well, something would have turned up, I expect.
Abbey Dore Court has languished for some 10 years and is crying out for affection. To find out where their loyalties lie, Ruth gathers together Charis, Clare and brother Julian.
So the neutrality, possibly, of your grandmother, lack of enthusiasm, if I'm, taking it a step further, about the house, is actually in direct contrast to how you feel about the house.
I think that's how it works well, is that I'm so enthusiastic about it. My future is bringing the house back to how it was.
I'm trying to understand where everyone lives, for a start. Charis here in the huntsman's cottage, and Jules, you're over in the gardener's cottage.
Yep, that's right.
And do you normally come and work here, or have you got a... would appear you have a job somewhere else?
I do have a job, yeah. I work full-time in Hereford at the moment.
Right.
And I do help out when I can here.
You lean more towards your grandmother's love of the land?
I would say so, yeah.
Yeah. But if all could be kept together and all could be enjoyed together,
yeah, that's
in
the
harmony...
hope, that we can all have our own roles and work together and keep the place going.
And with the garden, with the main house, with the ancillary cottages.
Yeah.
That would be lovely.
So we've each got our own
Everyone
projects,
would be
our own
happy.
work.
Charis, even you?
Even me, but I shan't be here that much longer, shall I? Hopefully.
Oh, I wouldn't count yourself out now. That's the thing about gardeners, they tend to go on a long time.
The problem is, who's going to take ultimate responsibility and put a stop to the rot at Abbey Dore Court?
The one thing I'm absolutely certain of is that Charis really loves the garden, loves the landscape, and the house doesn't mean too much to her, and that Clare really loves the house. And it's just as well that somebody does, because I think it is going to be down to the grandchildren to make this work.
Having met Ruth, Julian and Clare realise she's got a battle on her hands to win over their grandmother.
She can probably come across as quite intimidating with some of the questions. Ruth, yeah. No, not... no. I think Ruth can come across quite intimidating.
I think they've got similar characteristics. Is that the kind of the better way? But I think it's good. It's kind of...
It's a bit like an arm wrestle at the moment, and we're waiting for someone to give.
Rescuing Abbey Dore Court from ruin is a massive undertaking.
It would make a beautiful bedroom, but there has to be some investment here.
And Ruth crosses swords with Charis.
I don't believe you. Come on, come on.
I don't know.
The history of Abbey Dore Court in Herefordshire stretches back to the 12th century, when it is said to have provided accommodation for the nearby Dore Abbey. The stable yard was built in the 17th century, when the house became a coaching inn. Today, the estate has 140 acres of prime land and an exquisite garden on the banks of the River Dore. The centrepiece of the estate is this charming mansion. These grand rooms, with their fine mouldings and handsome facade, were added to the existing house in 1857. Clare Sage wants to see the deserted house restored and dreams of giving up her job to run it commercially. But she needs to convince her grandmother, Charis Ward, that she can manage a viable business here. The only current income is from visitors to the gardens, plant sales, and a tea room open at weekends. But these only bring in £2,000 a year, and the house will need to dramatically increase its revenue if it's to survive. Clare's called on businesswoman Ruth Watson to help. Still living in the old servants' quarters where she was brought up as a child, Clare meets Ruth here at the back of the house.
Hello, hi. Morning, Claire. How are you?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Yes, not so bad. So this is your little quarters.
It
round
is,
the back
come and see.
So this was the servants' quarters, but you've always lived here, haven't you?
Yeah, this is where I've always lived. This is the sitting room just in through here.
I have to say it's quite little.
It's cosy. It's nice. I love it.
How do you relate to that bit over there?
I guess because this has always been home, so for me this is kind of where I feel comfortable and I'm happy, and through there I kind of see as the future of here, really.
So is that sort of work? Is that the business?
Yeah, I think I do in a way, yeah. My grandmother wonders why, because she always says, oh, one day you can live in there. But I don't think I ever will. In my mind, I won't ever live in there.
How are we doing in terms of decor and dilapidation? Because we talk about the main house having lots of things wrong, but I mean, this ceiling doesn't look the best either.
We had a leak under the bath. We've got old pipes on the bath and they've had a leak and we didn't realise. We're not sure what this one is. That's kind of just steadily getting worse. We've got water coming in on the stairs and on the landing, and I've got buckets catching that. But that's kind of... It's nowhere near as bad as through there. And it's kind of... I'm used to it, I guess, now. I just live with it.
This is where you were talking about the damp.
Yeah, just at the top, on the other side, on the stairs, the water comes through there. I've got a bucket catching the drips that come through.
When Clare was growing up, her family lived in the modest servants' quarters, while Charis lived alone in the main house next door.
It's interesting because other people would be more selfish. They would want to be in this part of the house and, you know, hang that bit.
I've always been in that half of the house. My grandmother had this half, and we came in for kind of family occasions and things like that. So it's always been very separate.
Sweet, it's sweet. And the kitchens, come on, we're on our way to the kitchens, weren't we?
The house hasn't been lived in for around 10 years, but Clare has warm memories of her childhood here.
This is one of the kitchens here.
Oh! Now, isn't that strange? One always expects an Aga to be piping hot, not frigid cold.
Yeah, very much used to be. It was always kind of... This was the centre of the house when we were younger. We used to sit here as children or leaning up against the Aga with my grandmother in the chair there, my mum there, and then kind of Sunday night TV on in the corner and the dogs around us.
It doesn't feel that way now, does it?
No, it's not. I don't like being in this room so much now. It's nowhere near what it was like when we were small.
No.
It's not fair on the house that it's going to this state at the moment. I just think if we can bring it back and people can come and enjoy it, I think that's the main thing that I want for the house, definitely.
Clare has already started making some income by opening a tea room at weekends for visitors to her grandmother's garden.
And this is obviously the stables.
It is, yeah, to do the old stables that when they first came here.
Yeah,
and then
really charming.
Converted.
You've done a really nice job. It's very professional. It's got a nice homely feel, but it looks proper as well.
Clean and tidy, hopefully.
It's lovely.
Yeah.
This is a good omen for the house.
Hopefully, thank you.
In her first year, Clare has made a success of the tea room. But even with the money from the gardens, it won't make nearly enough to pay for the upkeep of the house. Ruth sets off on her own to find out what potential the rest of the estate has to offer. She starts in the menage, once used for exercising horses.
it's the most fantastic space. And if you got rid of the tractors and logs and put them into one of the other outbuildings, how about this for an indoor market or a permanent retail space? I mean, it's such a waste not to be used.
Ruth is also convinced that the house itself has money-making potential. In such a picture-perfect location, the property could make an ideal guest house. But it will take upwards of £150,000 to restore the mansion.
You know, one thing about this house is there isn't a rotten view out of any window. It is so beautifully situated. But this room is above the drawing room, and it's where the damage occurred through the roof, and it's lost all its cornicing. It would make a beautiful bedroom, but there has to be some investment here. And my view is that while the whole of the house needs redoing, and certainly the upstairs bedrooms, you might as well go the whole hog and actually make, if not all the bedrooms en suite, at least a number of them, because if this is going to trade in any capacity, it's got to look rather better than it does now.
As a successful hotelier, Ruth knows that guests looking for a country house retreat demand a high standard of accommodation.
You can actually see daylight through there.
Boasting some of the most beautiful countryside in England, Herefordshire is a popular destination with tourists, and Ruth thinks Abbey Dore Court should be capitalising on this to secure its future. She's on her way to nearby Hay-on-Wye, home to the world-famous book festival, to meet organiser Peter Florence.
How many visitors do you have here?
We have 75,000 visitors every year.
So where do they go?
Well, we used to worry about hotels and B&Bs, but actually what happens is that every guest room anywhere around here is full. The kids are in a tent in the garden, and it's a wonderful gathering, social gathering. People come home like a kind of Thanksgiving without turkey.
So somebody who might be setting up a B&B within half an hour, 45 minutes is not going to have any problem filling their rooms?
No, I mean, there's so much that goes on through the year, even in festivals terms. There are festivals every month around here.
What sort?
Oh, there's the fantastic Ledbury Poetry Festival, there's the Cheltenham Festival, which is even within 45 minutes driving distance as well. There's the Abergavenny Food Festival, which is now, I think, one of the most exciting in Britain.
Yeah.
So all the time, visitors love to come to this area.
Yes.
And the joy of it, I guess, is that it's a very peculiarly British weekend that they would have when they came.
With no shortage of visitors, it's clear that Abbey Dore Court could attract year-round paying guests. Ruth's next port of call is the Old Vicarage, 30 miles away in Norton-Prestane. Like Abbey Dore, it was once dilapidated, but has been lovingly restored and turned into a successful B&B by Paul Gerard and John McCall.
Hello.
Welcome.
Good
I'm Paul.
morning. Hello, Paul. Hi. And
Hello, I'm John. Nice
John.
to meet
Hello,
you.
and I'm Ruth. And what a very handsome house you have.
Yes.
And staggering views.
Staggering views and a staggering George
Yeah.
vicarage.
Was it really
Through this way.
difficult to find?
3 years of struggle.
Yeah, yeah.
But we got here in the end.
Paul and John bought the house in 1997 for £240,000 and spent a further £150,000 lovingly restoring it.
It's wonderful with the dual aspect. It's a really beautiful room.
Yes, it's lovely, isn't it?
Yeah.
Love the...
Very nice.
What we wanted to share with people was our home. And in that sense, everything we do here is based on home. So guests are welcome to use this drawing room or the study or the dining room or whatever, really. And it's a friendly environment where there's no little signs telling you not to do things. And that's been very successful because guests come back time and time again.
Was it in a really parlour state or...?
It was very much unloved.
Yeah.
And everything was here but hidden away under layers and layers of paint. And this room took 16 weeks of work, for example.
Really? Yes. So a lot of investment in time and, dare I ask, money?
Yes, just a little bit, but we didn't keep too close a tab if you wanted to remain sane.
But was it tens of thousands to restore?
Yes.
Oh, must have been, yes.
Something you love doing?
Yes, you have to enjoy meeting people, you have to enjoy being with people. It is very hard work, but the rewards, financial and otherwise, are enormous.
The old vicarage has fewer bedrooms than Abbey Dore Court. Rates are £100 per night, and with a high occupancy, it brings in enough money to support the business. Having done her research, Ruth's even more convinced that Abbey Dore can operate as a successful business. She's back to share her findings with Charis and Clare.
Hello, how are you?
Thank you.
Clare, full marks for asking for help, I have to say that, because I do think the house is in a pretty parlour state. You know, I know you've had the damp problems which have been caused by pipes, but I do think there is actually quite a lot of work that needs to be done here, because if this house is going to trade, I'm afraid the standards need to be raised.
First, Ruth has a money-making idea for the menage.
I have noticed that there's a real absence of shops when I drive around the place. If you could actually have a monthly event that wasn't just about produce, but was about everything to do with crafts, local craftspeople coming here, food producers for sure, but everything that anyone wanted to sell, because you've got that amazing space, the menage. The benefit for you is that you charge rent for the stalls. You get an uptrade because you've got the tea room there, and if you were to provide light lunches as well, so much the better. I think you should have a stall yourself selling cakes and all the wonderful things people like to buy and go away and scoff. We've got plant sales already, so you can add to your plant sales. And of course, people can go into the gardens as well.
Next, Ruth turns her attention to accommodation. With several B&Bs in the village, she's worked out that Abbey Dore Court could turn over around £60,000 a year, providing an income of at least £30,000.
What I think the house could be turned into is a 5-bedroom, mostly ensuite guest house. With the place that I went to, they only have 3 bedrooms. They have fabulous views, but the house is no nicer than this, and the bedrooms are a lot smaller than these would be. They are charging £100 per night. They are about 85% occupancy full the year round, and they are making enough money for 2 people to live quite happily off the earnings and to keep investing back into the house. If you could see that your whole family, your grandchildren, would be able to live here, enjoy this house, this estate, this garden, and all get a living from it, is that something that you think that you might be prepared to do to help?
Well, obviously, somehow or another, we've got to find money to do it. There's no doubt about that.
What I do know is that there is a shortage of accommodation in Herefordshire, and that you do have the most extraordinary amount of happenings going on, from food and literary festivals to, you know, the place is teeming with events. It's just wonderful, and I don't think you'll have any problem filling. I really don't.
I quite like the idea.
Do you?
Yeah.
It's going to be the hardest for you.
But if the family is to make a success of a business, they'll have to decide how they manage the project.
How do you feel about merging with the others and, you know, everybody benefiting?
I think we need to talk about that,
Yes.
definitely.
Finally, Ruth leaves Clare with some homework.
Now, before my next visit, I'd like to charge you with some activities. I think, Claire, you need to go and look at B&B to see how they do it. I think it would be very encouraging and inspirational. And I'd also like to see if we could do a trial of this internal farmers market stroke trading area in the menage. It's a brilliant space, and I think if you could set that up with stallholders coming to sell their wares, let's see how it works. I think it could be a real success. I really think that if this family all pulls together in the way that it can do, because you're all strong, determined, hard-working people, I think this is really attainable. The idea that Abbey Dore Court is sustainable, that the family can all live here together and the family can all prosper here.
To make any change at Abbey Dore, Clare realises that her grandmother needs to be on board.
The B&B idea is definitely something that's come up in the past, but I don't know, never really got... I think because my grandmother said, not really. We all just couldn't, well, no, that won't happen, let's move on to the next thing.
But Ruth knows that to make a success here, the next generation needs to be given the opportunity.
Although her grandmother didn't think she would like the idea of running a B&B, Clare actually said yes, she would love doing it. But there's a long way to go because this family have now got to sit down and talk to each other about who does what. They've got to create some kind of proper strategy that will work long term. And above all, there's got to be some funding found from somewhere.
If Clare's to achieve her dream of running Abbey Dore Court as a business, she must prove that she's got what it takes.
Do you think your grandmother's got confidence in you?
Sometimes I question it.
But it's not going to be easy.
She's the one that stirred it up and started it.
Abbey Dore Court in Herefordshire is in trouble. Clare Sage has drafted in Ruth Watson to save the family home from dereliction.
I've lived here my whole life, 27 years. It's horrible to see something you love just deteriorate like that.
But Ruth faces two obstacles. The house requires a massive cash injection and needs to earn its keep. It's Clare's ambition to run the house as a B&B, and successful hotelier Ruth thinks it's a concept that could work. But Clare's grandmother, Charis Ward, is less convinced.
Well, from my point of view, I could think of nothing more ghastly, but I'm a bit worried about what Clare might be landed with.
Despite Charis's concerns, Ruth wants Clare to experience the B&B industry for herself. Saturday, 7 a.m, and Clare's come to Hanover House in Cheltenham. It's a smaller property than Abbey Dore Court, but requires just as much work.
Hi there.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, I'm James. Yes,
Hi,
hello,
Claire.
Claire.
Nice to meet you.
Welcome to Hanover House.
Thank you.
This morning I've got 2 cooked breakfasts, 5 scrambled eggs and smoked salmon and 1 poached egg.
Today, Clare's assisting owner Veronica Ritchie.
Have you ever cooked scrambled eggs?
More microwave from my university days.
There's tomatoes and mushrooms to go on.
Making breakfast for 6 guests might appear easy, but it requires a lot of planning and organisation. This B&B gets through 1,200 sausages, over 2,000 rounds of toast and 2,500 eggs a year.
This is when it all starts to get very complicated, everybody wanting different things.
Coffees?
Was it 1 scrambled egg?
The tea room seems very easy right now compared to running this.
There's a poached egg, isn't there, with this one too?
Yeah.
How's that bacon doing? 2 more to come down, is that right?
We go.
Thank you.
Okay.
Is this how you thought it would be?
It's a lot of work. I think that's the main thing that's coming across at the moment.
Actually, today's quite organised.
It takes Veronica almost 4 hours to prepare, cook, serve and clear breakfast. And then it's time to move on to the bedrooms.
Just check the teapot. All this has to be replenished, washed and brought back for the new guests. I'll do this. Then you and Anna will strip the beds, remake them.
How long does it take to do everything in the room?
I would think you're looking at a good hour. Easy. Dressing gowns need to be flung. First impressions are very important, Claire, when people come into the bedrooms.
Yeah.
On top of this, there's cleaning, laundry and ironing. Even with help, this would be a full day's work for Clare at Abbey Dore.
Just right.
Appreciate it. Keep in touch.
Thank you. Yeah,
Bye-bye.
we'll do. Bye now.
Sophie, good girl. Can you come?
Clare's arduous shift has made her realise that working in the hospitality business is tough.
Incredible experience, really enjoyed it. It was really good to come and done that and just to see how much work there really is, what their day is really. And then I'll take it back to the family and we'll go from there really.
As well as opening as a B&B, Ruth wants the family to consider alternative revenue streams. She suggested they utilise the outbuildings at Abbey Dore and trial a farmer's market in the menage. But grandmother Charis is sceptical.
I think there are too many farmers' markets. There are so many. And yes, I think a farmer's market is not the thing to do here, really.
Clare's pulled out all the stops to arrange today's market, but there's one thing that she hasn't been able to organise.
In view of the weather, I don't think it's going to go very well, and I think people will be put off from leaving their homes.
And Charis remains lukewarm about the event.
I really have no feelings about it. I mean, it'll either work or it won't.
And we need some cutlery, napkins and all that on the tables, and all the crisps can come out now as well.
Despite Clare's optimism, the bad weather means a poor turnout.
It's been a very interesting day and some lovely people about, but I've sold one item.
Don't know how I feel. I'm just quite exhausted from it all. Yeah, learn things and learn for next time.
The trial still manages to raise £500, which Clare will donate to charity. Farmers' markets can prove lucrative, but such ventures require time to become established. Abbey Dore Court is in need of more immediate funding. After years of decay, it's finally dawned on the family that drastic action is required. Over the summer, they struggle to agree on a solution to Abbey Dore's predicament. They finally agree to pool their savings to raise the £150,000 needed to finance restoration. But as they procrastinate, the house continues to languish. It's 4 months since Ruth's last visit, and she's back to find out what progress has been made at Abbey Dore Court.
Well, nothing much has changed here. The ceiling's still falling down, it's still being propped up. Sycamore seedlings still about to cause even more damage.
Ruth discovers from Clare that it's not just a financial plan that the family have decided on.
When I last met with you all and I was suggesting the house should be a B&B, is that happening or not happening?
Yeah, we've looked into it and we've just kind of got quite stuck on it. The money we need to raise to kind of set ourselves up as a B&B, we just can't meet that money at the moment, and also the work involved running a B&B. It's just, we just don't think that's the right thing for us at the moment.
So where are you going?
We're looking at weekly and weekend rental, self-catering, to come and have the house for the time they want it.
So why do you think that that requires less investment than having it as a B&B?
Because we can put the house to a level that we think, well, we're going to get someone to come and advise us from one of the letting agencies to come and advise us what we need to do.
I think there's a whole raft of things that are required for weekly rentals that would actually probably come in more expensive. The other consideration is that weekly rentals tend to only take place in school holiday times at Christmas, Easter, whereas B&B, I mean, it runs throughout the year, and this is such an ideal spot. So I'm quite surprised that, you know, the family seem to have made that decision, especially when you haven't even had the rental people in to say what they consider is the right thing for this house.
With the whole family now investing in the project, Clare's found her ambitions for the family home relegated to the back burner.
I still am keen to run a B&B, but I just think maybe in the future that's something we can look at.
You're now saying we instead of I. Is this significant?
Yeah, it's we now, very much we. Hannah, my sister, and Jules, my brother, the three of us are very much together now. We're going to do the business, the three of us.
At one point, this was your baby entirely, and then it started to be chipped away at by the members of the family. I mean, have you gone through a painful curve at all on this?
Yeah, it's been hard, but that's life, and you've got to keep moving forward. It's been an emotional couple of months, definitely.
Do you think your grandmother's got confidence in you?
Sometimes I question it, but I did get carried away, I know I did, but then I think, yeah, it was my dream and it still is, but it's just on a different level now, I think, so just got to keep moving forward with it.
Clare is not the same girl I met 3 months ago. I find the whole thing hugely depressing because, yes, hopefully the house will get done, but all that energy I saw before, all that desire to turn this house into something special, and Clare at the helm of it, has gone by the wayside.
With a proposal to convert the house into a holiday let and Clare now out of the driving seat, Ruth wants to talk to Charis and get to the heart of the matter.
Clare wanted things to happen, didn't she? I mean,
Yes,
Clare was...
she's the one that stirred it up and started it.
So you never had any intention of letting her just come and do her own thing here?
Clearly she couldn't have done it. No one person can do this on their own. I think it would be an absolute nightmare for her, with the tea room in the garden and a B&B. And I think it is ideal as a country house, really. This just seemed to happen.
So you think there's less work involved than running it as a B&B?
Oh, I think so, yes.
Yeah. My worry about it being used for families is how much the facilities would still need to be done to the same standards as the B&B, but the cash flow wouldn't be as great.
We'd have to wait and see.
Charis also has personal reasons for not wanting to open as a guest house.
Well, I certainly don't think we can set up in opposition to other people in the village that are doing B&B.
How many bedrooms are available in the village, do you know?
I have no idea. I don't go into it, but I wouldn't want to do that at all.
Would you be worried about sort of stepping on people's toes then?
Very much, yes.
People can't stop other people trading if somebody wants to do,
Yes, I think one can, and we live in a very small area.
It matters what the neighbours think.
No, it doesn't what the neighbours think. We haven't gotten in a lot of neighbours, but you don't want to get in other people's way.
There's no doubt about Charis's influence on this family, and I think the problem is that she is so subjective in her decision-making, and the whole family is so uninformed in so many of the things that they're contemplating doing or not doing, that I am really concerned that actually the wrong decisions will be made, both for Clare and for this house.
Concerned about the direction the project is taking, Ruth calls Charis, Clare, and siblings Julian and Hannah to a meeting, as she's still convinced that running a B&B at Abbey Dore Court is the way forward.
I mean, we're definitely not work shy, and it's not a question of trying to find an easy option to make money. What we're saying is, on a day-to-day basis, B&Bs is going to be a lot more work.
If you want to forsake B&B, be my guest, but please don't think that having families staying for a week or more is going to make life a lot easier, because it's not.
At this present time in our lives, we don't have the time to run a B&B.
You don't, because you've got a full-time job, but Claire
Also got a full-time job, and Hannah has a full-time job.
And if I can remind you, Claire said at the beginning she wanted to leave her full-time job in order to devote her attention and time here. Now, if the remit has completely changed, and I suspect it has completely changed, I am superfluous to any decision-making here, and nobody's going to listen to a word I say. That is absolutely fine. That is completely your prerogative to do so, right? But I have completely wasted my time because I actually do know what I'm talking about when it comes to B&B, weddings, events, what have you. That is my business, has been it for 25 years. I actually do know what I'm talking about.
Frustrated by the lack of progress, Ruth is beginning to wonder if the family will ever make any headway at Abbey Dore.
Have you ever heard of a committee who actually come to a good decision?
We haven't got a committee. We do it as a family, and we all go along as a family, and we just harmoniously jog along, and I hope it'll work.
If this has all been harmonious, every bit of the discussion, then I will lay all my worldly possessions that that is not the truth, because nothing in a family is ever harmonious from top to bottom. And I do not believe for 1 second that every single one of you has agreed every single step of the way with every single decision that has or hasn't been made.
Don't.
I'm not trying to put dissension in the way of this. I'm trying to put practical aims and needs in the way of this. Charis says this is not a business, this is a family, and of course she's right. And I wouldn't wish it to be any other way, but a family can still be potent, it can still be well advised, it can still know where it's going. And I remain unconvinced that this family does.
Ruth's stern words appear to have done some good.
Oh, that's light.
Julian, Hannah and Claire make a start on clearing out 40 years of detritus.
Nice.
And renovation begins on the house. Abbey Dore Court is at last showing signs of life. Autumn, and Ruth returns for her final visit, to visible signs of progress. The scaffolding is up and the renovation has begun, starting at the top. With such an ambitious project underway, Ruth is keen to check with Charis that every detail has been thought through.
Do you know how much this roof is going to cost?
I don't like to think about it. We will...
30,000?
I don't know. I've no idea.
Have they not quoted?
Sort of.
What do you mean, sort of, Charis? You must
We're
know.
a bit vague on anything, because things are sort of in with things, you know.
Who is running the project?
Good question. Well, I don't know, really. I think we all are at the moment, a bit.
Yeah. Can we go and have a look round upstairs?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes, you can see the
Good,
scaffolding from inside, then.
I'd like to see more than that.
Once the roof is watertight, plans are in hand to renovate the entire house. But with the family's savings tied up in the scheme, Ruth's keen that they ensure a healthy return on their investment.
Hundreds and hundreds of books.
Good. So what are you planning on spending on restoring the house?
As little as possible.
And how little would that be, Charis?
I just don't know.
Charis,
I do not know.
do not know those figures, I am Jack Spratt.
Honestly, I will be perfectly serious to you. I do not know.
So when the builders came and said they were going to do the roof and things, they didn't give you a price?
No, I don't think so.
I don't believe you. Come on, come
Honestly,
on.
I don't know.
I don't believe a word of it.
I don't know.
I don't believe a word of it.
I'm not. I can't give you
Charis,
figures.
I don't believe a word of it.
I cannot give you figures because I am
prerogative
totally
to say
not
nothing,
sure
but
of them.
Don't ask me to believe it.
I'm not sure of them.
With renovation finally underway, Abbey Dore Court can look forward to a more confident future. But if it's to thrive, the family needs to face up to some home truths.
You need to stand up for yourselves, because there will never be a point in time when your grandmother will think that you are capable of doing everything.
After a decade of neglect and months of deliberation, restoration work has started in earnest at Abbey Dore Court in Herefordshire. Ruth Watson's at odds with Charis Ward about how best to trade the property. She's convinced that opening a B&B would be the most lucrative, but Charis feels self-catering is the better option. To get an idea of what the house could earn, granddaughter Clare Sage has invited holiday letting agent Clive Sykes to view.
It's a marvellous room.
It's a bit better now.
It's beautiful, isn't it?
Amazing. Oak floors. From a holiday perspective, this room, the most important thing, there needs to be seating for everyone who is effectively sleeping in the property. So if the property is sleeping 16, then there needs to be 16 comfy seats.
Just through there, we've got the dining room and the kitchen. If you want to go through, I'll show you the rest of it.
Great.
Okay.
There's still a lot of work to do, but Abbey Dore Court's potential is clear.
You've obviously got people on your books who've been doing this a long time. Yes. How many weeks of the year can they be assured of renting out the property?
The larger properties traditionally have had a slightly shorter season than the smaller properties. For that reason, I would be reasonably confident of doing, even in the first year, in excess of 30 weeks bookings. I mean, the season generally runs from Easter until the end of October. I would hang my head in shame if we didn't do gross rents of 30,000 in year one. And very, very roughly, obviously agents commission in the region of sort of 20%, and that's it is pretty standard in our industry. And obviously you've got all your overheads, if you've got any loans, any mortgages, any debts, obviously that needs to come to the equation, all the cleaning and maintenance and insurance and everything. So very roughly half of that should be, worst case scenario, should be profit.
If Abbey Dore traded as a B&B, Ruth's worked out that even at 65% occupancy, profit would be around £30,000 a year, double that of the self-catering model. Resigned to the fact that she might be fighting a losing battle, Ruth gathers the family together for the last time.
I think congratulations are in order. Scaffolding, building work, progress being made on the house. Charis, how have you found this?
Tedious.
Tedious?
Slow.
Why slow? Because in fact it's happened a lot more quickly than if I hadn't been around, hasn't it?
Oh yes, it probably wouldn't have happened at all.
Claire, how have you found the process? Because for me, the biggest change is what's happened with you, because you were the one who asked me to come. You were the one who was all excited about getting the house restored, maybe having a B&B here, and you've kind of rather gone backwards, as it were, in coming forwards?
It's been a roller coaster. We've kind of gone up and down, up and down. And beginning writing to you was my aim was to rescue the house, and yes, if I could have a part of it, but we didn't know where to go with it. So yeah, we've got lots of ideas coming in, going, and now it feels really exciting because we're going somewhere.
All I'm saying to you is that yes, you won't fail with doing holiday lets. I know you won't fail. There will be money coming in, and it will be lettable. But I still would like you to not shut the door on the notion of B&B, because I think you can make more money out of it. Would you consider keeping the door open on that?
I definitely would, yeah.
The major thing has been achieved, which is that this building is currently being restored. Charis, I have to say that I actually really like and admire you. I know that you have got where you have got today by guts and determination, hard work, and all those good old honest qualities.
And good luck.
And some good luck as well. We all need that, but I do believe you also make your luck. And the fact that you are a very difficult, indomitable, and contrary woman only makes you more interesting to me. Claire, I think, and Julian, you need to carry on respecting and loving your grandmother, but you also need at a certain stage to stand up for yourselves, because there will never be a point in time when your grandmother will think that you are capable of doing everything because of the person she is. So what you have got to show is the same indomitability, the same hard work, and the same qualities that your grandmother has in order to make this work. The funny thing about all this is if Charis hasn't done this to actually spite me, she's certainly done it to prove that she doesn't need my help. But so what? It's happening, and good for her.
Gissing Hall in Norfolk is in trouble. William and Ann Brennan run the mansion as a hotel, but they're struggling to keep it going. If they don't find a way to make it earn more profit, they'll be forced to sell up.
I don't want to bow out of something which could have succeeded.
The couple have called in Ruth Watson to help keep the estate in the family and preserve this historic country house for the nation.
If we say had to sell, that would be terrible.
Gissing Hall might look impressive from the outside, but Ruth soon discovers that all is not as it seems.
Nobody has curtains like this nowadays. Those pots are not hidden, you can still see them.
I'm not good at managing people.
If you haven't reached crisis point yet, within a month you will.
Gissing Hall lies in the heart of Norfolk's unspoiled countryside. William and Ann Brennan first set eyes on this handsome 44-roomed mansion in 1986, when they saw it for sale in a Sunday newspaper.
We came up and it was an extraordinary sight. This great lump, red brick lump, in the middle of an icy field.
It was love at first sight for the Brennans. They sold their family home in London and purchased Gissing for £150,000.
Well, we're really only looking for a weekend cottage.
This, of course, is a weekend cottage.
So we then thought, well, sort of why not? Well, it was terrific. But that's if you like ruins and wrecks.
The couple sank their remaining £40,000 of savings into renovating the derelict hall and turning it into a home for them and their daughter Harriet. But they soon discovered that the house was too expensive to run as a family home and started taking in paying guests. It then became a hotel. But with no experience of the hospitality business, fine artist Anne and William have found themselves with a shortfall of £40,000 a year. With 9 core employees, there are often more staff than guests at Gissing.
Hi, how are we doing tonight?
Sort of going quieter again.
Okay.
Daughter Harriet successfully managed the hotel and built up the business. But she's left to become a lawyer 25 miles away in Norwich.
I worry about them a lot, I do, and I don't think they need looking after. I mean, they're both really bright. Whether they're made to be hotel managers, that's a different question.
Since Harriet resigned 2 years ago, the hotel has been without a full-time supervisor. Having had no specific training, William and Anne run it as best they can.
I'm not good at managing people, which is obviously a problem. Some people, they just love being Mr. Hotel. And no.
Now pensioners, the couple live next door, but they're devoted to the hall and want to see it earn its keep so that they can take a back seat and enjoy their retirement here.
To be a hotelier for an artist is a sort of sentence of death.
But the couple have borrowed over £35,000 to renovate the hotel. If they don't get the business on track soon, they'll be forced to give up their cherished Gissing.
We are getting older, and it's exhausting, and it's depressing, and it's dispiriting, anxiety-making.
They've called in Ruth Watson to help. Ruth has had decades of experience in the hospitality trade and has turned around the fortunes of numerous country houses. It's a frosty day in Norfolk, and Ruth's on her way to meet William and Anne, but she detects trouble before she's even arrived.
One of the problems they've got at Gissing is that it really is in the middle of nowhere, well south of Norwich and a little bit north of Diss, but there isn't conurbation, and if you're going to trade somewhere, you need people.
For any remote country house hotel, effective signage is vital.
Well, this is obviously the main drive, but it has to be said the signage does not hold much allure. Oh, look at this. What is this? What are these awful red tubes? They're obviously gates hung there, but looks like a building site with this pallet as well. Not good. Everything's looking very sad. I know it's midwinter, but the marquee has got mould growing up the sides of it. This looks very sad. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Welcome to Gissing Hall.
Thank you very much. You're very difficult
William.
to find.
Yes, I'm sorry.
It's thank you. How long have you had the house?
The house, about 23 and a half years.
Really?
Yeah.
And why did you buy it in the first place?
Well,
long story.
the advertisement in the Sunday Times, 44-roomed mansion for sale, Norfolk.
The thing is, Ruth, we weren't particularly business-minded. We were really just not with it at all, in a way. We hadn't really...
I can tell.
Oh, sorry.
Don't wish to be rude, but I can tell.
We haven't managed to disguise it.
What pleasure do you get from living here?
For me, and this isn't true of Anne quite, I never did much in my life before, and this has been a long-term project.
Right.
And for it to fall apart because we're getting older, because our daughter's doing something else which she is doing and should do for her life, it shouldn't matter, and it doesn't matter in the bigger scheme of things, but for me it would be a massive defeat, and I'd love to see if we can get this onto a proper even keel.
I think in view of the fact that this is supposed to be a hotel, it probably would be appropriate if I came to look at the bedrooms now.
That's a
Don't
thought,
you think?
isn't it?
Yes.
Definitely a thought.
The hotel has 21 bedrooms with the elegant proportions and original features of a Georgian mansion. But for a country house hotel, the rooms don't quite live up to the stately ambience. Room 21 is Anne's favourite.
Oh, this is a jolly nice big room, isn't it? Wonderful light.
A lot of them are this big as well. The bridal
Yeah.
suite is even bigger.
Right. I do think the decor is grim, actually, and it's not just big... I'm sorry, it sounds so cruel, but there's something very lifeless about this, and I think the blue carpet sort of sucks the... I don't know, it sucks something out.
Yes.
And this furniture does, unfortunately, look like sort of early 70s B&B
furniture.
But yeah, it
As it
just
were.
doesn't have any pizzazz or character. I mean, it's not old-fashioned enough to look wonderfully quirky. What it really needs is some sense of design.
There's also a bit bare, somehow, feeling the room,
Well,
isn't
considering you're a painter, an artist, I mean, you know, I am surprised at how few artworks there are around. The room itself is delightful.
The lion's share of Gissing's revenue comes from weddings. So Ruth sets off on her own to check out the most important room in the hotel, the bridal suite.
If you were very short-sighted, you might find it agreeable, but for most people, it's well below par. I don't think they get how to do bedrooms somehow.
Unimpressed by what she's seen so far, Ruth sits William and Anne down in the bar to discuss how they think improvements can be made to the ailing business.
I think you've been incredibly honest and very intelligent to know that you don't know what you're doing. That's the sign, to me, of intelligence, to asking for help, rather than stumbling on in an idiotic way thinking you do know how to do things. What do you think actually does work here?
What does work, if you like, is weddings, perhaps slightly underpriced weddings. We get lots of them.
I can believe that in the summer, when the trees and the garden's in full flower, that this is a very pretty, quiet, lovely venue to be.
The wedding business is by far the major earner at Gissing, not the hotel trade.
I haven't heard the phone ring once today.
No. True.
So what are the receptionists doing?
Good observation.
Well, probably not a lot.
Before going any further, Ruth wants to find out if William and Anne have the aptitude to turn things around at Gissing.
Given sound advice that you thought was sensible, given a structure, do you think you're actually self-disciplined enough, both of you, to adhere to that?
Well, what can I say? I really going to work for it very, very hard. I mean, in a sense, what more can I say?
If I agreed to, I would stick to it.
We want to know whether we're completely foolish and daft, or whether we can achieve what I've always sort of wanted to achieve, but perhaps deserve to achieve, because I've underachieved, I haven't done what I should have done, amongst other people, and not them, necessarily. Whether we can get it up and make a go of it, and get it so that trades happily and can have less anxiety.
That's what you'd like?
Yes.
OK, and if you did have to sell, how do you see your lives?
We'd just have to get on with it.
I think what I've gleaned so far is that this is certainly a big, rambling building with some really fine bedrooms. It needs a lot of love and attention, and William and Anne really want to give it that. But there's a problem. They don't have enough money, and I'm not sure they have enough competence either.
Ruth Watson wants to put Gissing Hall back on the map, but she's beginning to wonder if, this time, she's taken on more than she can manage.
Are you good with people?
Variable.
When people live in chaos like this, it's also indicative of a state of mind.
Gissing Hall in Norfolk dates back as far as 1470. But the handsome mansion that stands here today was built in the early 1820s, incorporating impressive gables and a grand clock tower. For centuries, Gissing was owned by the Kemp family. The imposing facade that stands here today was completed in 1828. Part of the elaborate regeneration included diverting the nearby road so villagers were kept out of sight. By the early 1900s, the family had begun to run out of money. By 1936, the estate had been sold. Anne and William Brennan fell in love with the derelict Gissing Hall in 1986. So much so that they bought it. Since then, they've put all they have into renovating the property and now run it as a hotel. But Gissing is in a remote part of Norfolk, and the business is ailing. If they don't find a solution soon, they'll be forced to sell up.
it's terribly frustrating and debilitating if you can't focus on what you should be doing.
The Brennans have called in Ruth Watson to find a way to make Gissing Hall more profitable, so they can slow down and enjoy their retirement. Ruth has explored some of the 44 rooms at Gissing. Critical of the couple's taste in decoration, she discovers the main function room is no better.
This is what you rather grandly call the ballroom, which to me
it was
looks
called
like
that
a...
when we came.
No,
Right.
but what it was
Okay.
actually a big drawing room.
I have to be honest, it's not my favourite room, and I think the decor's letting things down. I mean, the curtains are very old-fashioned. And...
But they're new, these curtains.
Oh, really?
This is Harriet. She wanted something
No,
traditionally...
they can't be new. Nobody has curtains like this nowadays. I think they're revolting. I'm sorry, I think they're revolting. I know that this could look a lot better than it does, and it's all to do with dressing it. It's not because the actual space is bad, it's how you present it. This room, great space, lots of lovely light again. I mean, it should be a huge benefit to you.
Ruth wants to ensure that the couple are making full use of Gissing's potential. But she's surprised to discover that one of the hall's fine drawing rooms is not open to guests. Instead, it's being used as a workplace.
So, come in, Ruth. This is currently our office. 2 main desks, computers and God knows what else, storage. But actually, it's a nice room. It should be used for something completely different.
Now, I think it'd be nice to have it back as more as a drawing room, definitely. You know,
Or special parties.
Public room,
Yeah.
yes.
Oh, yes,
yes,
for use for people. Yes.
It's wasted, you're quite right.
Upstairs, Ruth finds that it's not only the ground floor rooms that aren't being effectively utilised.
They've undoubtedly done a lot of restoration here, but there are so many rooms I still go into which are just tips. When people live in chaos like this, it's also indicative of a state of mind.
The Brennans drifted into running Gissing as a hotel, having realised that the family home had to earn its keep. Neither Anne nor William are trained hoteliers, and Ruth is concerned about the image this portrays.
William, what can you do?
I can do things like cooking breakfast. I can do menial things. I do maintenance. I understand electrics and plumbing. But on the whole, other people
It's not what you should be doing, no.
And people in the business kind of think, well, hold on. On one moment, he's trying to look smart and telling us what to do, and then he's can't clean a loo, or can't mend a loo, or is mending a loo. So those practical things, I have to use my brain. What can I do with my brain? What can I do with people?
Are you good with people?
Variable. Tend to be a little bit too wanting to be liked and obsequious almost, or a bit peremptory. I've got a touch of Basil in me somewhere, you know, which is a worry.
That can amuse the customers, though, as well as
well, that's
cause some
right.
displeasure.
When this place was run not very well, I think the trouble is I might have been thought a card or a laugh, but the trouble is that doesn't make a business work.
Daughter Harriet managed the hotel for 3 years, but has since left to pursue a career as a lawyer. She's also worried about Anne and William being left to run the hotel alone. Ruth wonders if Harriet might hold the key to getting Gissing Hall back on its feet.
I don't know how much longer they're going to be around, but I'd want them to just to try and be able to enjoy and relax for the rest of their years they've got here, really.
You're obviously really enthused with your new career, and that's going to take up a lot of your time and your focus over the next good few years. But could you see yourself ever coming back here to either live here or to run the place?
Well, living here is different, isn't it? And I still live here now. But to run the place, no. I don't, to be honest. And I know what I'm doing now is what suits me better and probably what I will be best at. So, yeah.
Well, the clear message derived from that conversation with Harriet is that she's done her bit here and she's not coming back. So if William and Anne have had any hopes that she was going to be their messiah once again, I think they need to dismiss them.
Gissing needs to bring in more revenue, and Ruth is beginning to realise that unless they bring in a leader, and soon, the hall won't survive. But there's one part of the business that is successful: weddings. Ruth wants to know what potential clientele think of the setup and meets a couple who are considering getting married at Gissing Hall.
Hello.
Hello.
This is very fortuitous. I didn't expect to see you. And your name's?
I'm Phil.
And Hannah. Hello. Well, very nice to meet you. So once you got inside, you've been shown round, and what's your feelings now?
I think we're being really impressed, actually, because we're kind of looking for somewhere where it is kind of a blank canvas.
Yeah.
And I think with the marquee, it is a blank canvas, so we can do what we want with the inside. I think in terms of the menu and everything, and just their willingness to help and cater for what you want for the day, which is really refreshing compared to other places we've kind of looked at who seem just really rigid in what they can offer you and the price. There's no leeway to discuss things. So
That's
from that point of view,
yeah.
we've been really impressed with that.
Yes.
I think the ballroom wasn't as beautiful as the marquee. The ballroom still looked a little bit old-fashioned.
What did you think about the curtains? Did you notice them?
Yes. Bit heavy.
OK, thank you.
Gissing clearly has appeal as a wedding venue, but it isn't realising its full potential. So Ruth has invited one of the country's most prestigious event organisers to visit the hall. Peregrine Armstrong-Jones has organised numerous royal events and society weddings, including the nuptial celebrations of the Beckhams and Elizabeth Hurley.
I'd love to have a Yes, yeah. So this is what they call the ballroom. Slightly grandiose title, but a good space, I think.
It's a great space, isn't it? It's nice and airy. Views over the garden. Lovely big spacious garden. So yes, it does work.
Peregrine, this is obviously the marquee.
Here we are. Here we are.
Which doesn't look too good outside, but it seems to be a good space inside. I mean, what do you feel?
It's nice and clean.
Oh.
And the good thing about the backdrop is that it's white, which means it goes with anything.
Does it matter not having windows or somewhere that guests can pour out onto a lawn? Is that
It's a shame, isn't it? Because we've got these lovely grounds, and here we are in a box, and we can't see any of it. So really, what would be good would be to take out sections of this walling and replace it with this this glass panelling.
Yeah.
And then you could sit here and feel you're in a wonderful room overlooking the garden.
Gissing Hall might be a smaller venue, but with shrewd planning, Peregrine's convinced there's potential to increase business and income. Ruth is confident that there's a gainful way forward for Gissing. She calls William and Anne to a meeting.
Hello.
Hello, Ruth.
Hello, Ruth.
I think it's a fair summation to say that if you haven't reached crisis point yet, within a month you will. I would suggest to you that actually running a hotel here is very, very difficult, and it's not something I would want to take on. You have the essential problem that you're too far off the main route. So my suggestion to you is that while you don't immediately just close down the hotel operation, because that would be foolish, I do think you should consider tailing it out. Because what I do think this place is ideal for is events. Doing the weddings is a good thing, and I think, you know, they just need to be done better, because by doing them better, you will get more business and more money coming in, and that's the name of the game.
The house might be a satisfactory wedding venue, but Ruth's more worried that William and Anne don't have the acumen to effectively oversee Gissing.
You must get a manager. If I'm going to call a spade, I don't think either of you have the capability or the desire to run this place in an operational role on a day-to-day basis. It's not going to work. So having a manager is essential.
But if a new manager's to be brought in to enhance the wedding business, attention needs to be paid to the tired appearance of Gissing Hall.
Presentation is all. It's such a cliche, but people judge you on it. So when I come to your drive eventually, I find some really rather saggy old signboards where the paintwork's not very good and, you know, they just don't look very good at all. And then I find a pair of iron gates, which are hanging on these strange tubes. Now, I know that they have only just been put in, but they do have to have brick piers put around them, because at the moment, they look as if they're guarding some juvenile detention centre. We had a really eminent wedding advisor down, and his name is Peregrine Armstrong-Jones, and he was responsible for Liz Hurley's wedding, so he knows how to do these things with panache and flair. And he had a number of suggestions to make. One of them was that the side of the marquee which overlooks the pond should be opened up so that you put glazing in, whether it's plastic glazing or whatever, in order to open up that marquee, because he thought it was a very good space, but it was actually hiding its light under a bushel, as it were, by not having that view out. In terms of the ballroom, we all agree it's a really, really good space, but we don't like the curtains. It just needs to be made more joyous, more charming than it is, because it's a great space and it's of huge value to you.
Another of Gissing's 44 rooms with potential is the main office, which Ruth thinks could make a drawing room for brides. Finally, and arguably most importantly, Ruth wants to raise the establishment's profile.
I really do think that if we're going to relaunch Gissing Hall, making this absolutely the place to come in South Norfolk, then I think we also need to do a wedding fair.
A wedding fair will redefine Gissing Hall as a leading venue, bringing together vital tradespeople, including photographers, cake decorators, dressmakers and caterers, with potential brides-to-be, partners and their families.
We want success here. We don't want the defeat that you are so frightened of. Are you up for that?
Yeah, of course.
Yes?
I'm doing as I'm told, Ruth. You are my fairy godmother.
I want you to embrace the idea with joy.
Right, joy.
William and Anne are demonstrably frightened about living here at Gissing Hall, and it's such a shame because actually all it needs is some honing and fine-tuning and a good manager. And at the end of the day, they rescued Gissing Hall, and I think it's time for Gissing Hall to rescue them.
After Ruth's departure, William and Anne take stock of her adjudication.
We were much more depressed, I think, we realised. I think a couple of days ago was the day that more people commit suicide than any other time of the year. Well, that's passed, and for us it's passed too. So I personally, I can't speak for her, but I think it's really quite hopeful. The overall feeling that really is things could really happen.
Ruth's most fundamental proposition for the Brennans is to phase out the hotel business and concentrate on becoming an upmarket wedding venue. She wants the couple to stage a wedding fair in just 8 weeks, to ensure Gissing is up and running in time for the spring season. It's the new year, and despite the wintry weather, William calls in the builders to improve the offending gate posts, as instructed by Ruth.
Morning, William.
Oh, God, that's going quickly. That's great. Great. Well, see you later, David.
The marquee is dismantled and taken away for cleaning.
This will look a totally different marquee when we come. Better with the windows along the front there.
Yeah, sure.
Let a lot more light.
That's great, yeah.
While Anne gets down to business shifting years of accumulation from the old office.
This room is going to be the green room for brides to come and sit and relax away from the action and not have to go up to their bedroom. I love throwing out, making spaces.
The Brennans are also cracking on with rebranding Gissing Hall. Designers Annie Owen and Tony Hatt have ditched the old-fashioned image designed by Anne and have opted instead for a more modern, fresh feel.
And so we came up with a letterheading which combines an easily identifiable logo.
We were looking for a style which would combine the sort of traditional elements and also make it a much more modern looking.
Of course, yes, I can understand that, of course.
Graphic with a very strong identity.
And following that on, those are 2 suggestions for the signs. So the sign that you now have, which has your sketch on it, would turn quite dramatically into this.
But William and Anne have a long way to go if they're to turn their fortunes around.
Do you have the necessary skills?
I almost certainly don't.
And Ruth's worried that without support, Gissing Hall will sink without trace.
What's missing here is leadership, and that's what they absolutely need in the role of the manager.
Gissing Hall in East Anglia is in danger of being sold. Owners Ann and William Brennan have been running the country house as a hotel for around 25 years. But the pensioners are struggling to make the property pay.
Running a hotel is quite difficult, and we have made rather too many mistakes.
Ruth Watson has drafted a portfolio of ideas to help turn the Brennans' fortunes around. Controversially, she suggested the couple phase out running Gissing as a hotel and instead concentrate on creating an upmarket wedding business. The pressure's on at Gissing, as Ruth wants the Brennans to host a wedding fair in 1 month's time, to relaunch the venue prior to the start of the spring season. Work has begun in earnest all over the property.
Well, this wonderful room is going to be the manager's office. We're plastering, and then the carpet's going down next week, and then before that we decorate. Bit muddled, but you get the sequence.
The dank marquee has been taken away for spring cleaning, and the hall is in the process of being rebranded, capitalising on its secluded location. Ruth wants the Brennans to rejuvenate the bridal suite, which was created in the 1980s. She's called in interior designers Charles and Nikki Wright to assess the decor and give the Brennans some advice.
So why have they chosen this room?
It's a disappointing fire for a room of this scale.
Yeah, it's not right, is it?
It's been 4 weeks since Ruth was last at Gissing, and she's back to check on progress. She's keen to find out what the designers think and head straight to the bridal suite with Anne to meet them.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello. What's your impression?
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Shall I go out?
Okay, brace yourself, Anne. Brace yourself.
I am, don't worry.
I think just in this room, the question was why you chose this room for the bridal suite. Having seen some of...
I can hardly answer that.
Having
so
seen...
many years ago.
Right.
So what would you be suggesting?
Well, you've got the main staircase at the front of the house, and obviously the front of the house
it's the major room.
is the major room.
So you're basically suggesting one of the major rooms at the top of the stairs, whether it's 1 or 21, I think is the other one, isn't it? Would probably make a better bridal suite.
Yeah.
I'm a bit concerned about that entrance into this whole area. I don't feel... I think we have to think of how a bride would feel if she's coming here and it's her big day. That room, wherever it was, 21, you've got lovely big heavy panelled doors.
Room 21 is a spacious, blue-carpeted room with great potential. But will the Brennans have sufficient time to transform the blank canvas?
We've got a wedding fair coming up. Do you think that there's time to get this done?
It's pushing it, but it is possible.
Ruth is convinced it can be ready. But first, she wants to make sure the Brennans are focusing on a more crucial matter.
Well, full marks to William and Anne for cracking on with how Gissing Hall looks. But what we need now is to interview a manager, because what really matters is that the business works.
William and Anne have taken Ruth's advice and have advertised for a new general manager. The response has been encouraging. They've received over 50 applications for the post.
If people start to diss their ex-employers, I immediately go cold.
A short list of candidates has been drawn up for interview.
How are you both at interviewing? Do you have the necessary skills?
I almost certainly don't.
But right now, Ruth wants to make sure the Brennans are up to speed.
Age shouldn't matter, but obviously experience does. I don't think you should feel at all bad about, at any juncture, saying, look, I'm really sorry, but I actually don't think this is the right job for you.
Ruth's sitting in on the first 2 interviews to see how they get on.
Hi there.
Hello.
Anne and William. Hello.
I'm Ruth, and I'm sitting in as well.
Sorry,
Hello.
sorry,
Yes,
sorry.
it's quite all right.
After a slow start, Anne and William begin to get the hang of it.
This is my wife, Anne, and we're the proprietors, and this is Ruth.
Hello, how'd you do?
You like Norfolk?
Yes.
What sort of place do you think, if you came here, you'd be coming to?
Could you expand on that a little bit?
Have you, in the past, had experience of actually getting weddings?
What drew you to that job?
The manager manages, and the owners own.
Thanks for your time.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
But with 5 more contenders still to see, Ruth wants the Brennans to appoint a manager within the month.
It's looking very promising.
Looking wonderful, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah,
that
we are very
is
confident.
key.
Yes,
that is
indeed.
key. Many congratulations with what you've done so far. It's really
Thank
good.
you for your kind remarks.
No,
and
no,
your help and support.
really
Thank you.
Yes, really,
you've been so very helpful.
Well, that's very kind of you, but I'm really pleased that you're doing your bit too, because that's what's important.
Well, absolutely right.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
I have to say that I'm not just delighted, I'm also slightly surprised about the progress that William and Anne have made here. And it's really good. They've taken everything I've said on board, but there's the nub. They're doing it under my leadership. And that's what's missing here is leadership. And that's what they absolutely need in the role of the manager.
More determined than ever, William and Anne are working hard to transform Gissing Hall into an upmarket wedding venue. They're pinning all their hopes on the wedding fair to bring in much-needed trade. The couple have borrowed £20,000 to begin refurbishment of the house and grounds. Designer Jane Fidian has been drafted in to revamp Gissing's faded decor. The Brennans are relocating the all-important bridal suite to room 21. But it's a huge undertaking.
Lift it onto the stairs.
Yeah, I'm in now.
The day before the wedding fair, and all hands are on deck at Gissing. The old office is being transformed into the new bride's morning room, but designer Jane isn't happy with how it looks.
I think it looks better if we take the colour straight to the top. It'll make the room look taller. The other, the cream above the picture rail tends to make the room look squat.
That's right.
Do the top with grey, please.
Lovely.
Lovely.
No
Excellent.
problem. All right, nice one.
Anne is determined to ensure that Gissing looks its very best.
So 9 lights, clear droplet, matte paint effect with diamonds. It'd be nice when it's dim.
Suitably
sparkling.
fancy.
And she's eager that the bridal suite lives up to Ruth's expectations.
This bed, I think, it's a much better bed than the other one. No, doesn't it make a difference when you get the cushions on?
It does.
I always laugh and say to people, well, actually, dressing up a bedroom, it's a bed throw and 6 cushions. Yeah, and I think that actually looks really quite nice, but do you think we can do some tinkering with the frame in the morning?
Yes.
So we could...
Under your guidance.
I brought the paint. Well, I'm going to take this home and polish it.
But with only 24 hours to go before the wedding fair starts, William's worried they won't be ready in time.
Bill, is there a chance you could go a little bit over today because we're running?
Yeah, you can go a bit over, yeah.
Thanks so much, we're good.
Well, I might be done by sort of 7, 8 o'clock if I'm lucky, but that all depends. Getting the chandeliers up is a 2-person job, really. So we're sort of up against it, really.
I professionally look stressed, that's what I do. But I don't actually... Part of me is agitated and ridiculous, but part of me is quite calm. Hello? Okay, brilliant. We'll be out there in about 3 minutes. Okay, bye. Thanks very much, sincerely. Bye. Do you mind? I'm sorry, let's go.
The day of Gissing Hall's wedding fair has arrived. Ruth's on her way back to Norfolk for her final visit. It's been a month since she was last at the house, and she's inspired by what she sees.
Now, that is a triumph. Proper gateposts. Oh, they've actually done a really good job. And they've trimmed the edge of the drive and re-gravelled it. Shame about not clearing up the bricks, but gosh, they've really made progress.
There's a lot riding on today for the Brennans. They're hoping that the relaunch will bring in more wedding trade and, ultimately, more revenue. But as Ruth arrives at the house, she discovers that the Brennans aren't as prepared for the big day as they should be, both outside and in.
Well, it's all going on here. Digger drivers putting down gravel and lots of cushions and toolboxes and things. I wonder where Anne and William are in all this.
The Brennans will be unveiling the new bridal suite at today's fair, and Ruth wants to make sure everything's been taken care of, from the bottom up.
And we're going... Anne, I'm so excited. That's a piece of blue carpet.
Yes,
does that mean
was
it's
in the room.
come out of the
It's
room?
all gone.
Yes. I'm so excited. Oh, Anne, I love this carpet.
Isn't it magnificent?
And you have people doing fantastic things to the room.
Yes, Jane has been utterly brilliant.
Well
this is
done,
Jane.
It's,
This is
hello.
Ruth.
The only thing I'm concerned about is this all going to be ready by 5 o'clock?
Of course it is.
Of course. Yes, of course it
nearly
is.
done.
Good.
Nearly done here.
I like the confidence.
No, we'll be done. Won't we, Anne?
Of course we will. I've just said of course.
Yes, we've just got to do a bit of furniture removing, haven't we?
That's right.
Breakfast table in the window, and I'm just giving the chairs a bit of a brush
Lovely.
up. Side tables, lamps, a dressing table to come in over there, and a little bit of dressing up with a tray and some nice china and make it look a little as if somebody might be about to have breakfast or supper or something, and a picture to hang.
With a lot of work still to be done, Ruth goes to check on how the bride's morning room is coming along.
Oh my goodness, still painting though?
Well, never mind.
Never mind.
Apparently, Sophie will hide whatever's behind there.
This is flowers and brickbats again. Fantastic,
I know.
you've cleared it out. Fantastic that you're trying to get it ready, and it's going to be a marvellous asset to you when it is. But how long is this going to be before the painter has finished his job?
Charlie, I think you need another 20 minutes.
Yeah, about 20 minutes,
Yeah.
that should be all right, yeah.
And
Just
you're
about
going
done.
to do the radiator behind you?
Yes.
Right.
I sure am.
The Brennans are trying hard, but Ruth's worried that because they're up against the clock, Anne and William are failing to pay attention to detail.
Those pots are not hidden. You can still see them. If you're
Well,
going to
5 o'clock when they come, it'll be dark. Okay.
That ain't hidden. Stick 'em round this side.
Yes, lady, I'll do that.
The wedding fair is due to start in just over an hour, and the event is at last beginning to take shape. The staff are pulling out all the stops. The suppliers have arrived, and so has a rather important guest. Tom Pickard has been hired as Gissing's new general manager. Experienced in event organisation, he's not due to start for a month, but Tom's come along today to get the lie of the land.
This is where the civil ceremony will take place, yeah?
Yeah, in the bay window.
Yeah?
Yeah.
How many guests?
To sit down for the ceremony, 120 max. Because then when they go through for their wedding breakfast, we can't accommodate any more. 120 is our maximum.
Ruth's got some specific advice for Tom.
If you have to get tough with William and Anne and say, look, you're now not consulting, you're interfering, then you have to get tough with them.
That's the thin line, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely.
I think it'll take a while, but they'll let it go bit by bit,
Yeah, yeah.
until they can just sit back and just keep an eye from afar
Yeah.
on what's happening,
Yeah.
and it's a trust thing.
Yeah,
you
no,
know,
it is,
I've got to
absolutely.
gain their trust, and that will take time.
Yeah, yeah.
But once it's there, then it's
Well,
it's
part of the
fantastic
way you'll
work.
gain the trust is actually, building the business and the profitability.
Yes.
That will help.
Yes, let's hope so.
Anyway, I'm very glad you're on board, Tom.
Thanks, Ruth. Cheers.
Today is William and Ann Brennan's big chance to make a difference at Gissing Hall. But it's a bleak Friday evening in Norfolk during one of the coldest winters on record. Not exactly the best night for a big turnout. Will the wedding fair be the roaring success the Brennans hope for?
Well, Tom might take one look at the chaos and go home.
Or will it be a disaster?
Don't let people put posters on front of the windows.
Anne and William Brennan want to retire. They've been running Gissing Hall as a hotel, but Ruth Watson has convinced them to turn the business into an exclusive wedding venue in a bid to increase revenue. Ruth persuaded them to relaunch the mansion with a wedding fair today. The couple have diligently followed Ruth's suggestions. They've employed a new manager, removed the unfashionable curtains in the ballroom, turned the dishevelled office into a restful morning room for brides. And they've transformed room 21 from a cold, uninviting space into a warm, sumptuous bridal suite. Despite the bad weather, the wedding fair is well underway. But Ruth's not happy with the positioning of some of the commercial stands.
Next time you have a wedding fair, tell Tom, don't let people put posters on front of windows, because you've just spent a lot of money having beautiful windows put in this marquee.
200 people braved the frosty conditions to attend the event. Brides, grooms, their families, and even specialist suppliers realise that Gissing has much to offer. If enough people book weddings here, the hall's success could be assured.
It's very dreamy and it's very impressive the way it looks, and I think that really counts.
The beauty of Gissing Hall is it's not too big and it's very personal for a bride and groom.
It's always been nice, but it really is the icing on the cake now since they've done the extras.
As potential clients sample the delights of Gissing, Ruth discovers that all the hard work is paying off.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but that looks a bit meaningful. And I hear you've booked a wedding here.
We have indeed,
Yeah, that's fantastic. So what have you loved about Gissing?
It's more it's just the character of the place, you know. We've been to see other hotels and they're all chains and they're all very
corporate.
Yes, and this just had something about it. It was more personal and more kind of meaningful because it was for the two of us.
And you've got the accommodation.
Yes. And the accommodation. And have you seen the new bridal suite?
I haven't seen it yet. I'm really excited.
You're going to love it. We've already had one booking from this, and maybe there'll be more to come, but I think it's actually more than that. It's showing William and Anne what can be done here, how well it can look and how it can be received by potential brides and grooms. And I think, just looking around, it's good business.
And Ruth bumps into some familiar faces who have returned with good news.
Excuse me interrupting, but it's Hannah and Phil.
Yes,
Phil,
that's right.
that's what I thought.
Nice to meet you.
Very good to meet you again. Now, what happened? Are we having a wedding?
Yes. We are.
Yes, we have booked
here.
Yeah.
Yes.
And have you noticed anything about the windows in here? The curtains.
First thing we commented on as we walked in is like, this room looks so different just without those heavy curtains.
Doesn't it look better?
Nice looking girls, look, and a great variety of dresses, actually.
With the future of Gissing Hall looking more prosperous, Ruth sits down with William and Anne for the last time.
Have you found the process agreeable? Has it been tough? Do you think it's been difficult?
Absolutely frightful.
Yeah.
Nerve-wracking.
Why does that not surprise me?
Yes, quite.
Yes,
But do you think
it's
been
most enlightening, it really has.
And now we think we possibly could have an exciting life here, not just financially, but overall it could be quite different for us, for the house, for our daughter, even indirectly. It could make the whole thing maybe hugely different. And not that all thanks to you, Ruth, but it's very big. We will give you a huge thanks,
Vast
if it works. We think it will.
To Ruth. So
Yes.
you can rescind the thanks if it doesn't work.
Oh yeah, I should write you letters of complaint.
We just won't speak to you ever again.
There's been so much effort over the last few months and today in building up the business, but it's always been about Anne, William, Gissing Hall, their love of it and their desire to stay here. I think the auspices are looking really good now. I think Anne and William can live here happily ever after.